Okay, hello, hello, hello. Who, if you're gonna show up, that would be great. Not very consistent lately, but too many things happening around in this
Yeah.
neck of the woods. And yours, I presume, as well. Well, Mr. Comic Crack has a cat, so he's a bit more busy than usually. There you go. The proof in the pudding.
The proof is in the
In,
pudding.
yeah, exactly. So, a cat owner over there. My Ruckus wants to have one, but we can't
Yeah.
have it because we're renting. So, and the
Oh
and the
yeah.
own the owners are really proper, like
Yeah.
no for animals. So, because
Yeah, I
every
think a lot
single
of places are like that, right? Like a lot of rental places, they don't want pets.
it's actually what happens is the odor. What people hate, because we have the whole house is like almost to the full brim. A part of the kitchen is carpeted. So,
Okay.
in that sense, it's a bit more job for anything else. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. But I think his whole classmates are having cats. So I think that's what he wants to do. They don't want to. Lots of kids talking about animals, and there's this couple of neighborhood cats, and there's so many where we live.
Really, hey?
It's like one neighbor cat is called Leo. He keeps on coming in, just pops in to say hello all the time.
Yep.
There's a number of like 4 or 5 and around me who owns the cats, so it's like slew of cats, honestly. And there's a dogs and cats, so animals full brim. Like if you want cat, it's
Oh
like
wow.
every around the corner. You just walk a little bit. There you go. There's a cat lying around, just like meow. It's like hello,
Right.
nice to see you again. Like
Yeah,
greeting.
yeah.
Like part of a village. Yeah, hello. Yeah, good
Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
Yeah, nice to see you. Thanks. I'll go mind my business.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
mind? I can see you definitely minding your own business.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So we'll
Yeah.
see how you're going getting along. So this is a permanent? Are you not rest, like you're not fostering? You
It's foster with the intent of adopting, but
Oh, okay.
my like I used to have allergies to cats. We then owned cats and my allergies went away. My wife has allergies, so we're
Ooh.
hoping the same thing happens with her. So
Uh-huh.
we have this foster program because then she's the woman, when she dropped her off the other night, was like, listen, if there's anything, don't worry about it. I guarantee we can get a home for this cat. We've already had people asking about her, so please let us know.
Mhm.
And the fostering program, they do everything. Like, she's all up
Mm.
to date in shots and stuff. They came
Mm.
with a litter box. They came with some food. It's a really, really good local program. So if it
Mm.
does work out, then we'll kind of donate in return to them, right? Like donate to their organization as kind
Mm.
of a thank you. But the hope is that we adopt, but we're fostering for the time being.
Okay, cool. Well, don't
Yep.
get too attached then.
It's too late. It's far too late.
I'm being
I'm
mean now.
already
I'm being mean.
madly in love.
It's Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the kitten's name?
Her name is Madison, so I think we're gonna keep
Wow.
it. We were gonna switch her name, but
Uh-huh.
now honestly, we've been talking to her as Madison. That now she's just a Madison in our mind, so she'll
Uh-huh.
stay. She'll probably stay that same name.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's a really nice name. Mads, you can call him
Mhm.
Mads afterwards if you're angry.
Mhm.
Mads, come here.
That's right.
But if you say she's a quality cat, that's nice. It's all about that.
She's really, really good natured so far. She's pretty great. She's very, very playful. So
Uh-huh.
when we
Yeah.
can get
Well,
into
one year
these
old.
kind of petting and cuddly sessions, she really kind of starts getting excited. So I made her a scratching post yesterday because we had some
Uh-huh.
scrap wood and some cheap carpet.
Yeah.
And then we got a couple of cheap toys for her. So just to kind of like, because she's still a bit of a kitten, right? So she's only
Oh
a year
yeah.
old. Yeah.
Yeah. That's full brim. Like she that hasn't even reached your, well, my maybe teenage years, but then it's like on a cusp already being that kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's gonna be some entertainment definitely here.
Oh, for
So
sure.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Your house has improved, they say.
Right.
The animal, the house improvement is done.
Right.
You ticked all the boxes: house, a child, a cat,
Yeah.
a car. That's the only thing you need.
Yeah,
Tick
that's
the
right.
box.
Just
Yeah.
need a little white picket fence out front, and then we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the post box is the more important, but yeah, okay, if you want the
Yeah.
fence, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so we like always chat just before we do chats, but
Mhm.
before we attempt a comic chat, which we haven't haven't done for a while. I
Yeah, it's been a
had
few weeks.
yeah, because I have my son
Mhm.
who is, I will speak out. I think not many people do, but my son has been diagnosed with autism, so it's become a little bit more challenging in his schooling years.
Yeah.
But that's the challenges we have to go through. Life brings up some interesting points. Challenging
Yeah.
myself more than him, I think, because I am, I want more than what they can give. So I always like, oh, demand, demand, demand. But then, like my brain goes away.
Mhm.
It's challenging. People are quite ignorant towards this kind of health issues if kids have. So
Mhm.
it's a bit more challenging. So that's why I've been away for a couple weeks, because my brain wasn't ready for comics.
Yeah.
I was
Right.
like, I couldn't compute. I was saying to myself, like, because I was looking at comic books. I continue to always get very curious to see. I follow
Mhm.
quite a few things, but I was reading a couple of like pages of comic, and I was like, what was I reading it? Because my brain is scrambled, so I have a lot of
Oh, yeah.
things on
Yeah.
my mind. So that
Yeah.
was been very challenging. So that's why I had to stay away. And actually, was really refreshing because now we went to library,
Mhm.
and I had like a stack of what I found to read, which is very entertaining because I was thinking, like you're doing quite often, you change, like you can't see anything what's interesting you anymore. So in that sense, it was quite a good thing to do sometimes. You have to do this for yourself a bit more selfishly, and get their space right. Because at the end of the
Right.
day, like we always say, and I will always continue to repeat myself, I want to enjoy what I'm reading. I don't want
Absolutely.
it to
Yeah.
be a chore
That's right.
and stuff. So that's
And
why
if you're
I've
not
been,
fully able to wind down and
yeah,
enjoy it, like it's
yeah,
tough when there's other things going on and stuff on your mind to kind of like get that
yeah.
focus, right?
Yeah, even though it's escapism, but
Yeah.
sometimes your brain just doesn't let you. It's
That's
there.
right.
Sometimes I realize, as much as I can force myself to do something, if your
Yeah.
brain it just doesn't settle, it means you don't have to fight. You just have to let it go. So I
Yeah.
was trying to do that as well. So exciting thing. So you watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie?
I sure
May
did.
What is it called? Mayhem something, isn't it?
Mutant Mayhem.
Oh yeah, Mutant Mayhem. There you go. So we both
Yeah.
watched it. So what did you? I like you knew already beforehand. Well, you
Yeah.
asked me before we was doing this chat that I
Yep.
loved it, and I know you did. So like
I
really,
honestly, I
yeah.
loved it. I loved it. I thought it was so good, and I loved the animation style that they went for. There's a
Mhm.
guy who did a show, King Star King, I've talked about years ago, JJ Villard. So he's the one that did the logo for Mutant Mayhem. There's going to be a
Oh,
Mutant Mayhem art book. He did the art for that's going to be on the front cover. So he was part of the production of it as well. And I
oh,
thought it was really just really well done. Even my wife watched it, and at the end, she's like, "Oh, is that it? Is there a second one? To have they made another one?" So she, even she was into it, which is
yeah,
always a good sign. Like we all enjoyed it. I thought it
yeah.
was just really well done. My son had already seen it. He saw it in the theater, and he had the
Oh,
same reaction that he thought it was just a lot of fun. I loved the way that they really made them feel like teenagers. I
oh
thought, like in
yeah,
my
exactly.
personal
Yeah,
opinion, they
that's my
really
point.
felt like teenagers. So they
Yeah.
was, yeah, I was really impressed, man. I really enjoyed it.
It's funny because I have such admiration towards animated series because this is what my first love was, not comics, unfortunately,
Mhm,
because I wasn't
mhm.
into that time, and then things happening, like Turtles wasn't reaching my part of the land anyway. But the
Yep.
cartoons were like a huge thing. I was like making a point to every single person in the family, like this cartoon comes on, everybody shut up and I'm
Yeah,
watching.
right.
And then nobody was getting me to distract from the television while I was watching it because I felt extremely entertained. It was intriguing to see this kind of thing, maybe a bit more fresh because like the same era, like the X-Men came on, and that was absolutely fantastic.
Yes,
So the mutant mania, as I call it, was quite strong in that time when I was growing up. So
100% it
and
was.
Turtles was an exception. And I remember. they released several movies. A couple of them I wasn't even watching because I thought like, oh my
Yeah.
god, what is that? So
Yeah.
this one it's really refreshing because I was honestly, I don't know how you felt, but maybe because I'm a fan of Turtle that much, I was hesitant because I didn't want it to get disappointed again. Because it's different. I've seen some animated series, new ones they make now in Nickelodeon. I think it's that took
Mhm.
who would keep on doing the fresh series of the turtles for the younger audience, let's say this way.
Oh,
But
yes.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, so but this movie was so refreshing. Like you say, the teenagers, that angst, that
Yeah.
unknowingness, that
Yeah.
unsure, but they want to, and because like you want to cross the break the rules, and I
Yeah.
think the Splinter was absolutely fantastic, and Jackie
So good.
Chan's
Jackie Chan did the voice.
yeah, yeah, the Jackie Chan voice was just exactly what you needed, I guess. So you had a
Yep.
comedic sense to it, and also there's vulnerability to it, which I really liked. I
Mhm.
liked did you enjoy that breaking the wall when they went to see a cinema? It was
Yeah.
a movie. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just to people who don't know, it's animated like movie, so it's
Yeah.
almost kind of a in style, or at least kind of like I think this is a new theme, like having that kind of artistic movie like Spider-Man. So he had those blurry lines. The action scenes weren't like super
Shows
clear
texture to the
animation.
characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt like they were made from plasticine in some scenes.
Yep.
I don't know why, but it did have that feeling of it. And then there's a scene where they kind of like want to go to see cinema, like all the teenagers do, and fall in love. And they go watch the movie. And it's a movie like you tip. I forgot which movie was it, but I could not laugh. I could not stop laughing because I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so entertained.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you go. So
Yeah.
exactly. So it was beautiful to see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they weren't afraid to do that as well, which is great. Like they
Yeah.
really had a vision. It seems to be they fulfilled it really well. And I honestly want to rewatch it again since you mentioned it,
Yeah.
because I think it's worth watching it several times because I think it's extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
So
I hear you on like the hesitation thing. I think like
yeah,
the thing that often, as much as I've turned into a much bigger Turtles fan than I ever was, it's not that I
yeah,
didn't like them, but I didn't
mhm,
grow up with them the same way that a lot of people did. So
yeah,
recently getting into it, I think because I still have that separation, I wasn't
mhm,
hesitant at all to watch it. I was just kind of like
yeah,
ready to go and see it, right?
yeah,
But yeah, you make a good point about like the texture and this new animated style. And again, like when we talked about movies in the past,
yeah,
the fact that there's more of these
yeah,
companies and producers and creatives that are willing to take chances as
yeah,
opposed to making it this real polished thing. It is something that's a little rough around the edges, but it's a unique style, and it's good. It's a good thing. I would agree with you that it's sort of, I would put it sort of in that same world of like the Spider-Man animated movies that have been coming
yeah,
out. It's just more adventurous. It's just something a
yeah,
little bit different. It's playing with that technology that I
yeah.
think again really works well. Who was the other big voice? And it was Jackie Chan, but there was another big name in it as well too as one of the voices, but I'm blanking right now. It just surprised me the people they had involved.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just thought it was a blast, So I don't know how it
yeah,
would resonate with people who are longtime fans since the 80s. I have a feeling they would
yeah.
still enjoy it, but I don't know, Some of
Well, the
those
thing
some of those
is,
hardcore fans can be a bit fickle at times.
the origin story they went for, it's a bit changed
Hmm.
to what your atypical. I
Yep.
mean, they kept the turtle origin story to a T. So they
Yep.
had the same, but the ooze, whatever they call them, the ooze is more
Yeah.
more
Right.
more adventurous words. So they had the ooze on top of them, like a daredevil. And in New York, by the way, it
Hmm.
still ties into for me as an origin story.
Yep.
And then, but they had that other character who is based upon the fly. I'm not spoiling much because, but it was there, and that professor. Who is that? Oh my god, why I'm blanking stuff like that? I should know it.
Hmm.
It's always like that when I'm doing live chat. But anyway, the professor, he had a different sort of ideas to what who wanted the end of a story. So it wasn't really that they were like fully like a comic origin story that came through, just concentrating on mutants. They had a villains kind of sort of
Yep.
slash hero slash kind of that kind of person, like origin story as well with them. So which was interesting at first. I was thinking where they are going with it, but they continued with the, which is, like as a fan, like you were saying, as a fan, that pleased me enough. Like I wanted them to
Yeah.
stick with. I don't want to maybe. I guess I do want, and I don't want to see something different invented towards Teenage Turtles, but
Mhm.
sometimes it depends on the story. But they really did well with this one, so
Yeah.
I can't really say nothing bad.
The other
Towards
name
it.
I was thinking of was Ice Cube. It was Ice Cube that
Oh
did the voice
yes,
of the main villain, which blew me
yeah,
away. That's, Ice Cube and
yeah,
Jackie Chan are doing
yeah,
voices like
yeah,
unreal, man. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah,
also
it
the
was super
split.
fun. Ultimately, it was fun. Like it should be a fun thing.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
thought it was just a really fun movie. I
mm,
liked the angle they took. I liked the
yeah,
angle they took with the mutants and stuff. I loved
yeah.
all that stuff. I thought it was really enjoyable.
And the brothers were like brothers, like sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They had Leonardo was Leonardo, Donatello was Donatello,
Narc.
Raphael, Raphael was absolute like old
Yeah,
Raphael.
yeah,
He
he
can
was
always
great.
be, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and
I like that
Michelangelo
they
was,
I like that they had them you could see them physically a little bit different too, because
yeah,
the kind of standard has been like they all look identical. They just have the
yeah. Hmm.
bandanas that are different color, but they
But
had
this
some
was
really good physical traits for each of
yeah,
them, like Raphael being a little bit bigger and a little bit like let's go in and beat the shit out of everybody. It was awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, man. Now that I'm thinking about it again, it's even more fun, I think.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
knowing the history of turtles is kind of like, like you, in a way, it's very pleasing to see the differences, but it also makes more sense not having them uniquely the same, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they are, one is older, another one is wiser, another one is like brutal and goes through the walls, and the one is
Mhm.
like too genius to care about everything else around him.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so it's really fantastic to see in that point, and the scene where they were trying to like with the reporter, and the reporter is the same, although
Yeah.
she's a like a different ethnic origin
Right.
to what you're used to,
Yep.
but it's still very hilarious how he would try to get on a date. It's like no, it's not a date. It's like he doesn't know how to behave.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's fantastic. Honestly, highly
Yeah.
recommend people if you want to have a fun, entertaining time, and if of course you have kids, definitely highly recommend it. A bit scary. My son felt a little bit too scared. But he's only
Okay.
5
Yeah.
at the end of the day, but that
Mhm.
villain was a little bit like over the top, kind of scary in some points. But it's cartoon,
Mhm.
so you take it for a grain of sleeve, and you make a decision to who you're gonna watch it with. But
Yeah.
highly,
Right.
highly recommend as
Yeah.
a turtle fan. It was just a spot on thing to see again in the movie, as a movie rather than, like, oh my God, what's wrong with them kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, did you watch anything else apart of, oh, have you watched Ahsoka?
We just didn't watch this past Wednesday's episode,
Yeah.
but we're pretty much up to speed on it.
Yeah.
And we're really liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like just a broken record, but I don't have the history with the character. I was talking to
Yeah.
Chris Chaos and Comics a little bit, like just a tiny bit. He had made some comments about it. Him and his wife are huge fans from the animated show of the character Ahsoka, and
Mm-hmm.
he was saying how they've kind of treated her a little bit different in this show. I don't
Mm-hmm.
notice it because the character doesn't have that history with me, but
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the show. I think we're digging it.
Yeah.
It's a show, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't have that. I don't have that link to the character, but we're really digging it. I think she's a fun character. There's some really cool scenes in it.
Yeah.
I like some of the Star Wars stuff. Some of it doesn't work. I would say this is on the side for me personally. This is on the better side of the Star Wars shows that I've seen. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy it,
Yeah.
even more so than like Boba Fett. Definitely, I like it more than Boba Fett. The way that ended up going to that just didn't kind of work for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's no Andor, but it's up there for me for sure.
Okay. So you have a bar. Not
I do.
everything can meet that bar. Okay.
Right. And
Um.
and Andor is phenomenal. Rogue One, best
Yeah.
movie. Andor, best show. That's just me though. Totally my own opinion.
Which is great. I mean, I like them both. With
Yep.
Ahsoka, I have fortunately watched the whole Clone Wars section, so I know
Yep.
exactly her kind of vulnerabilities towards the the Jedi's, why she left them, what's her take on it, how much training she got, and why she has that still above her head. I think you will extremely gonna enjoy the next episode you missed, because there's a really good scenes going on
Oh,
there for her.
sweet. Yeah.
It answers a couple of questions in some sort of way, but gives you, because so Clone Wars have her been trained by Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she never has oh, hello, drunken sailor. Hello. And
Hello.
she has never finished her training because she left the Jedi Order due to the reason of Clone Wars. She never was agreeing how Republic was using the clones in order to win the war. And she was I really liked her. I think because she had that like young apprentice style character who was kind of like wanted to be really, she's extremely good at what she's doing, but she had that brain of hers who's telling this is wrong, I don't want to be part of it. And the more she was doing that, the more Anakin had problems with anything else surrounding him. And I think also, like the Sith Lord was really dwelling into his brain. And Anakin's weakness, as I've always felt, in my opinion, was that he was so manipulated by Sith Lord that he didn't understand anymore what's right, what's wrong. And I think what lots of people maybe don't know, but Ahsoka was a big part of him in that time as well. When she left the Order, he became even more obsessed of, like whatever Sith Lord was telling him and whatever he had to basically wanted to do with Anakin Skywalker. And his dark side was way basically strong. And also I started watching the Rogues. This is another animated series, and it is actually really good. She's not there prominent in the first season because I'm still in the first season. But there's another, because Jedi said it doesn't exist. And in there, she is there already grown. And what she's seeing in this television series, she's all grown up. She's supposed to be all-wise Jedi, almost to a point where, like Anakin's level, maybe a bit should be like, like in that sense, because she's already aged. She knows, kind of clear in her mind. But that back of mind not finishing the training really disturbs her still to this point.
Right.
So I think that's why she has so many problems with other characters. So it's interesting.
Man, that's a lot. That's the one thing I would say about all of these shows that honestly I don't give much thought to because it confuses me so much. I really have a difficult time slotting these different things into a timeline. That's I'm sure that I could figure it out if I took the time. I'm sure I could. I just don't really have the interest to do it. But that's the part that I feel like there's stuff that I'm missing as far as this show takes place in this time period, and in this time period these were the other things that were going on, and in this time period these were the things that were going on. So I feel like I miss some of those kind of subtleties because it's at this point such a big complex universe that spans such a long period of time that it's like, okay, well, which piece of the pie am I seeing right now? What else was happening in this time? So I think I have the general gist of it, but it's tough to keep track.
So this happens Clone Wars, the Rogues, some movie, which I don't know the name of, whatever came afterwards. And there's a timeline in Disney. Actually, you can actually see the timeline.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
You don't have to research online. If you go in the Disney, whatever, if you have Disney, you go Star Wars, and they give you Star Wars timeline. So what they released, when released it, and what happened, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so Clone Wars, the Rogues, that's where Ahsoka mainly I'm talking about was Clone Wars. She's a prominent there, number one. I don't know, I think she's very prominent later on in the Rogues TV series, but this actually another one I was hesitant to watch, but now I'm completely into it. It's very refreshing to watch because you have, which I'm blanking the name of, the apprentice, the chick who just... She used to get in the ship with the Mandalorian side of her. So she's there in the Rogues as well. So, and a lot of characters there from the Rogues as well, part of it. In general, oh my God, so I say blanking names. So anyway, so I think that's the timeline so far. But with Disney, I never know what they want to do with this future afterwards
Yeah,
will be.
right.
So, because the Mandalore is very prominent now, Mandalorians are, because
Mhm.
Mandalorians were prominent in Clone Wars, because the war happened in Mandalorians. Well, that's how they destroyed the whole part of whatever Mandalorian is, and they part of the world. So, I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good series. Very complicated. Star Wars is
Yeah.
extremely complicated, to no
Totally
avail.
is.
So, yeah. So,
But like I said, we're digging it. I
yeah.
liked, I think it's pretty good.
No, I
I
loved it.
also finished watching Shield
Yeah.
as well too. I watched the whole
Oh.
thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh. You mean
Um
the? Oh yeah,
uh,
the.
yeah, the whatever it is, the secret invasion, the whatever,
Yes,
the
yes,
yeah.
yes. That's the one. Yeah.
And meh, it was whatever. I
Also,
mean,
I'm frankly.
I've forgotten most of it. There were some good moments and everything, but honestly, there was nothing that really jumped out at me.
Hmm,
I mean, I'm glad I checked it out. I like to see that Marvel stuff, but it was just kind of, it was a show,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you
Uh,
missed much by not watching the whole thing, basically. So,
and also, just an last thing I watched. Are you watching Foundation?
no, I'm not. I just
It's
don't watch much of anything.
so Foundation is another sci-fi intense series, but it's
Hmm.
made by Apple.
Yes.
Apple is doing that. It's a Asimov, the
Isaac
writer.
Asimov.
Yes,
Yep.
so based on his books,
Hmm.
and there's a great actor there. Oh, hello, Donna Rex.
Hello, Donald Rex.
And yeah, it's based on his books on that, and it's really good.
Hmm.
Lots of great actors. I don't know the name, of course, of them because I'm just speaking now. I don't have any text prepared for it, but I highly recommend if you're a sci-fi fan. It's
Yep.
complex storylines with a family of royalty who's also been cloned in order to be one person in charge, and
Mm,
they basically split them into eras of them. So young, like teenager slash young human, like king. Then you have aged but clever but not old, and then the wise one, and they call them Dawn Moon and something like Dawn. Anyway, so it's kind of interesting. It's very intriguing storyline. It
mhm,
has really good tales where this group of goes explore and find foundation to basically land the humans in the area to survive as experiments. And there's this scientist who has these numbers, and he foresees the future, and he needs this one girl who's apparently so clever and has a high Q levels of the chart to help him to basically succeed the plan and deal with the royalty, who's basically
mm, mhm,
planned the whole life for everybody else. And
mhm.
it's in second season. I think second season is already kind of fully finished. We
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
first season. We absolutely loved it. And actors actually picked up, which I don't know many of them, but a couple of them you probably definitely would be familiar with if you watch some of the series, especially in sci-fi realm.
Mhm.
And yeah, so if you never watched it, I highly recommend. If you're a sci-fi
Yeah, I'll
fan,
check it out.
yeah, because it's intriguing. It's definitely
Mhm,
intriguing because we're really going into this some storylines which is like time traveling but not complicated too much of time traveling. Per person goes into pod, lives for 100 years, wakes up after, so you basically see the future what's happening as well. So times
mhm.
times time scales are going for, and soundtrack and intro is actually really fantastic. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if it's
sweet.
done by AI, but doesn't feel like it is. It's more like a human
Okay.
touch to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So another
Just to
one.
go back to what Andrew Lopez said, Ray
Yeah.
Stevenson's character from
Hmm.
Ahsoka. I agree.
Yeah.
Ray Stevenson, unfortunately, he's passed away. I'm glad to
Hmm.
see that he completed the show before he did. His
Yeah.
character is really intriguing for sure. There's
Yeah.
shades, and the way he portrays him
Yeah.
is really interesting. And again, like it feels like a character that I should know more about if I was like really into the lore. But
Mm.
I really
Yeah.
like that aspect, and I'm curious to see where his character goes for sure.
Yeah. It's a pity about Ahsoka that she didn't, Marvel is doing also Star Wars comics, but apparently Ahsoka is not has never been in any of them.
Okay. Yep.
I would probably would because she's my favorite, and
Hmm.
all because of the Clone Wars. And also there's this series of her origin when she just was born as a baby, and her
Oh.
powers, how her powers came to be. It's very short.
Hmm.
It's like a couple of episodes, and it's really fantastically done as well. So if you want to watch that as
That's
well, so
cool. Yeah.
you'll see a baby say, like part of the Ahsoka's life. So, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if a comic would be of Ahsoka, I would definitely probably even picked it up because I just like the character.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Rosario Dawson is fantastic in it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and there's these
Yeah,
beasts
he does
in the
pretty well in
sky.
it.
By the way, just a bit of a the episode next one the latest episode you haven't watched. That was my favorite episode because of the beasts in the sky. I'm not saying anything else. They're
Right.
bloody fantastic, and the abilities and what they can do, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
they look. Just love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can done talking about TV shows
Sure.
or movies.
Yep.
Do you want to kick start or do you want me to start?
You go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm so kind of you. Okay. I following this 32-page guy on Instagram. He opens this very clean-cut comic books, and he actually pages through the comic. And then he showed me something which was hilarious. At the time, I was watching Basketball World Cup, and I'm talking about this picture particularly, which is I'm talking about the comic Uncanny X-Men 180. Not your favorite topic, I know, Terrence, but but it's one of the things. So this is a hilarious scene where Xavier finally walks, and he's apparently a basketball player. He loves basketball, but the way John Romita Jr. has drawn him, and with those shorts are up high, so high. It's really hilarious looking page. So I was like looking to see if I had it. And I did, and I just read the story. I honestly, as I say, I have not yet fully kept up with all X-Men comics I have. But it's fantastic. I guess it was the right moment for me to read this since I was watching the Basketball World Cup. So it was really entertaining. And the story entails where Xavier got his legs back. He's starting to push because he cannot believe that he's walking again. And then here we have Aurora, who is changed. Apparently, she made a great change with this lots of people's favorite look to Aurora, having this hairstyle, being kind of pop, kind of rock star. One thing I was feeling really comfortable in this one, how Xavier has feelings of realizing how sexy the Aurora is. And I was like, am I liking this scene from Xavier? It's like, because he's not saying that to her. So while we are having conversation in his, like the mind, oh look, she's so sexy. I didn't realize how I'm attracted to her. So that was like, I don't know if I like this part of Xavier, because I always feel like he's supposed to be like a dad figure to every X-Men. And in here, Aurora is also saying to Xavier, saying how she changed, how she doesn't realize, am I the queen or am I the X-Men? And that's kind of contemplating with her. There's also a story with Kitty and her struggles. Very interestingly drawn as well in that era of very much of 80s, 90s kind of slash comic.
Yeah, very much that era. Just seeing these pages,
especially her wearing that
headband and everything.
Yeah, those aerobics channels where used to be, oh come on man, let's get up and dance, the kind of thing, those kind of things. They're very prominent in this, especially color scheme. And Kitty is talking to her friend Doug, and apparently Doug has this secret mutant powers, and he's being invited to go to the college, which apparently is owned by evil mutants, and she's kind of not sure how to help them. Also, we are having Rasputin scenes. He is struggling as well because these scenes are happening since the, I think, Mutant Mayhem storyline. So big arc happened beforehand, and like always, Wolverine comes in to just give when you're feeling bad, let Wolverine come into you and ask you a couple of uncomfortable questions where you want just to beat him to the pulp. But he's just, look, I'm just here. I'm trying just to see how you're doing. As like, because Rasputin is kind of like, he's always calm character. He's always kind of like, he's struggling, but he wants to deal in his own way. And he's been chopping this wood, and Wolverine comes in and says like, good way to chop your wood. And he's like, come on, let me be, just I want to be, and he's like smoking. And this this panel is one of my favorites from Romita Jr. I really like the smoke scenes in comic books because I think they're really interesting to put through. Very entertaining comic. Also, Hellfire Club. That's the club owned by the. Information comes late to me. Very interesting scenes in here, and interesting on the comic side. As a fan of X-Men, is definitely exactly where I want all the stories, and it's very chatty because Claremont is still writing in here, so he has lots of conversations. Aurora takes Kitty in order to, they have the mansion, but the Aurora still needs to whisk away Kitty Pryde to have a conversation in the sky so nobody will hear them. And it's having this conversation with Kitty saying that she always felt that Aurora is her like her mother, and she's like, "Look, I'm not your mother. I want to be your friend. Don't call me mother because I have my own issues." Because she was in charge of the group as well since the Cyclops. Something happened to Cyclops. So yeah, and she said, "I have already questioned my own things and I cannot help you." So they reconcile themselves, and the story is before this happens, because the scenes before to end the comic, Xavier has this feeling in the parish, and at the bottom in here says that the X-Men is going into the world when maybe they'll not be back. And the Ice Queen has always been an Ice Queen, and so I really like the way they portray her in the comics. Yeah, really entertaining. I'm probably more excited reading the comic this way, like just pick up an issue, read it, see how I feel, because I just have more appreciation to what the work of X-Men were in that time, and the complex stories he's trying to get through. Like people question their own self, not only the mutants and people, what the people surrounding them think of them, but also the struggles they have for themselves, how to deal with everyday life, who to help, all and dealing with villains and all the basic dealing with themselves as well, and just be who they are, loves and relationships and all that stuff, family and all that. So Claremont was really into that. So definitely a lot of like therapy kind of type of stuff he's going through in this. So yeah, it's quite complex storylines he tries to tackle most of the time with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, very entertaining read.
Cool.
I'm a fan. It just basically ticks in my brain. Okay, I'm a fan again. I always am, but the more I read it, it's just a kind of confirmation once again. Paolo Costa, how are you?
Hello, Paolo Costa.
Right, cracks. Time to show us something. Weird or wonderful or weird?
Well, I mean, I'll stick with superheroes because I'll show you like a chunk. It's a number of books, but I'm not going to talk about all of them. The common theme through all of them, though, is this fine young gentleman here, Dead Man. So that's the final issue. I finally got to the black light or the fluorescent cover of that final Night Terrors.
Before you did you see my
I see it, and I saw it, and actually, as you were talking X-Men, I almost interrupted to draw attention to it, but I decided not to. It looks fantastic back there. It looks really good. Like it really jumps out.
So this is the light, which is basically beaming towards it. So I put light here, and it beams to it because I find it very lovely to look this way.
It's great. Yeah, no, it's really good.
Yeah.
So I had a bit of a Dead Man reading spree.
Oh, cool.
For the tidy sum of $1, I found this old adventure comics, and it's number 464. It is beat to all hell. There's a bunch of different stories in it, but there's like a good chunk of it is a Dead Man story that I really, really loved. I think one of the things that I like about the Dead Man character is his kind of constant struggle with just not being able to interact with humans and kind of being out there on his own. And the only way that he can have any effect or get any sort of contact with people is sort of taking over someone else's body. So he comes into contact. He's he's getting drawn into this seance. There's a seance this group of scientists are having because
Yeah.
they think that their facility is being haunted by dead man, by
Oh, look
Boston
at that.
Brand. So they're going to exorcise him and get him and take care of business. So they bring him into their space. He has this draw as he's going where he just can't stop himself. He hears these voices calling to him, and it just
Mm-hmm.
kind of evolves from there. Again, if I was more up to speed on my DC lore, I know that this facility would mean something to me. I know that these people would mean something to me. It's just I just don't. It's just I just don't know that much. I don't have that much knowledge about it.
Yeah.
But I do like the way Dead Man was portrayed in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Just a really quality little story. It's great to kind of, again, the bonus of a place like Comic Vine, just being able to go to a character and see what issues a character has appeared in, and for finding it for $1 was an absolute treat.
Who was
Sorry, go ahead.
who was the writer and an artist? Because I like the art,
Let's see.
the look.
Let me get you proper credits here. One sec.
Yeah.
So Len Wein and Jerry Conway were the writers.
Okay.
Jim Aparo was artist.
Of course,
Glynis
yes.
Wein was the colorist, and then Levitz was editing at the time. There you go. There, somewhere down there. Yeah, there you go.
Oh wow, lovely. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Aparo. That's why I like his females.
I do as well. All of the characters, it's really.
Or even the Dead Man's, the way I think it's still the time when since Neil Gaiman took over and did it, I think everybody just sticks to the way Dead Man looks, and they continuously having throughout, didn't they? So it's really lovely to look at. Yeah,
totally. The other one I found was this final. It was a 3-parter. I found this final issue. There was a garage sale last week, one of the Comic Addicts, and I went through, and he had this for cheap as well too. I have the first 2 issues, so Dead Man is in the story. He's involved in it in 50, 51, and 52. So the Aquaman story, like, it's all a continuation. The Aquaman story was whatever. I love the visuals. I think are great. Oh, this one is in pretty rough shape too, so I got to be a bit careful so I don't completely. You can see like the cover is attached. Just the way I like them though, because I'm reading the damn things. But the art is really, really nice. But again, Dead Man plays a part in this storyline. What I do love about so it's Steve Skeets on script, Jim Aparo again on art.
There you go.
And the Aparo art on this one, I love. I mean, at this time, they didn't really list all the colorists, but I love when he does kind of flashbacks. He uses this really limited color palette of this blue and then this kind of black and white, which I think is super effective. And you can see it even more so on this cover. Like the textures on that, around that ship there are really, really phenomenal. And the blue on those figures are really, really nice. That's the one thing I would say about some of these early Aquaman that I've seen. The covers are very striking. They really do stand out. Even stuff like this, I find, is really effective, you know.
I love that.
I'm not really going to focus, but yeah, there you go.
I really like the blues they use in the comics, and the paper is really lends to it. And I think the more it ages, the blue is just becomes more prominent, because I think the brown background is always pops the colors. And that's what they do in all paintings as well. That's where they use the canvases. They paint them in brown to get the colors pop more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Aquaman has been shrunk down and exists in the ring of his wife. Is what's happened. So in this scene, he's growing back. He's kind of increasing in size again, back to his natural form. And then we get the Dead Man story, the Dead Man portion of it. So they separate them into 2 different stories, even though they are interlinked. But again, it's seen this amazing era of Dead Man. Like, look at that image of him. It's really outstanding. Let's get credits on this one too. I think it's the same credits the whole way through. Yeah, it must be, because they don't have a credits page. So again, Aparo doing the Dead Man stuff. And it was good. I'm glad I finally finished off this trilogy. I don't know if it's something to rush out there and get, but I did enjoy it. Again, it's just I can't get enough of Dead Man and Spectre. So some cool little scenes here. I love this kind of 3-panel look at this kind of main villain or whatever there. But
Looks
yeah, so
very.
that was fun.
This Aquan Run has quite lots of Neil Gaiman covers, and that's why becoming more and more popular. And it's quite difficult
Okay.
because it's Silver Age in a way. So yeah, this has lots of dreamy, lovely color schemes on the covers.
Yep.
In this run as well.
And then the final one for my quest into Deadman stuff was this.
Oh yes,
Brave and the
Batman.
Bold, number 86. Does that say 86? Yeah, 86. So the bonus with this one is this is early on in kind of Deadman's existence period. We've come out of kind of the classic Deadman Neil Adams stuff, and this is kind of him with Batman again. This was the strongest. I loved all the other books too. This was the strongest read. I thought that their relationship was really interesting, and the Deadman is in a place where he's been manipulated that he has to kill Batman. So he enters Robin's body and tries to kill Batman. He enters Commissioner Gordon's body and tries to kill Batman. And then finally, Batman is like, this can't be. There must be something going on. So then you get into the history of Ramakrishna. Is that what the spirit's name is?
Yeah, the one which
made into that whole. Yeah, you get into that whole lore. So we get a revisit where he goes back to kind of his roots of becoming Deadman, where he was forced to make that choice. Do you want to be a force for good, or do you want to kind of have your spot 6 feet under? This was such a fun read, this one. I loved this, those rare times that I think Batman really works. Paris Batman was one of those that I remember, yeah. And again, there's some really nice stuff here, like that's a really cool couple of panels there. I think those work nicely. I love all this fractal stuff going on here,
Yeah, very trippy.
Did I say the creators here? Where's the credits?
Not yet.
Probably no credits. Probably at the back somewhere, hey?
Oh, yeah, they always make you guess, isn't it?
No, I don't see anything. Anyway, it was just a really good read, and I love that it was kind of still early on in that lore of the Deadman character. He goes and revisits the circus like Batman goes, and Boston Brand's brother is playing the part of Deadman in the circus to kind of help get them some money and things. So Boston has to take over his body at one point because this stunt that he's about to do is about to go wrong. He misses the bar and stuff. So everybody comes in to save the day. Just so good. Really good stuff. So it's been a really amazing week of, and again, like that's the one positive thing I would say about like a current event book. Just kind of reminds you about a character that you do love and causes you to go back and revisit. So some really amazing Deadman reading this week.
Yeah, cool. So what prompts you to go back to that one? Because of the new series?
Because of the Night Terrors. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And then it was on my radar. So when, like I said, when I found that one for $1, for example, I probably would have flipped past it because it wasn't first on my mind, but I kind of had that list on my Brave and the Bold is probably bought handy. Okay. Because it was just on my mind to pick up the Brave and the Bold one. Otherwise I probably would have flipped right by it. So
just give me a second. I wonder if that omnibus of Deadman I have has those comics, which was would be interesting if they did, because I kind of would like to read them as well. Give me a sec.
Yeah.
Oopsie. Okay, I'm back, I think. If I'm not gonna die from this omnibus attack. I really want that Phantom Stranger. Oh, that would be going so well next to this stuff. Yeah. Okay, so Brave and the Bold, 79, 86, 104, and 133. Which one is yours? That one?
86.
Oh, there you go. I have that one. I have Aquaman run 50 to 52.
Yeah, sweet. That's awesome.
So there you go, can read that as well. So it
Can
has
you
lots
hold
of
up
stuff.
some of those pages to see just a comparison?
Oh,
Like, I don't know,
oh yeah.
is it easy to? Yeah,
Okay, let me see if
I know they're pretty damn beefy, but
Oh, there you go. It said no, there has good ones. Okay, page 304. Thank you very much, GC, for doing that. 30.
that's really great that it collects all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's the thing with some of these offshoots, you wonder if they're gonna just ignore them or
No,
stick
no.
to like the
Usually
blueprint.
with the characters like that, I think they want to get everything, whatever they have. They don't have the cover, but give me
Oh
a
yeah,
moment.
look at that.
But that's how this
Yeah,
look
that's that
in the-
image.
Yeah, but they don't have a cover, but they have the
Right.
story beginning and more art. Looks good, no? In this one.
Yeah, it looks pretty sharp. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is. Let me show you the art there. This things, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
look at
part
that.
of it. Yeah. So yeah, it's cool. Then afterward, they also have the Phantom Stranger stuff in here. Then they
Beautiful.
also, yeah, I don't see. They also have the Green Arrow stuff as well.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's really nice. So yeah, it's what other ones they have? The one bold and thingy. Where is it? Brave and the Bold 86. You said, yeah.
86. Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
So then they
26.
probably have the previous Brave and the Bold too, because there was a couple before that as well with Dead Man and Batman.
Yeah, 260. 260. One more. There you go. You already see it. There you go. This is very blue, this one. In comparison, maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I think let's pop it open. It was pretty blue in the book too. I mean, obviously it's going to translate differently with that really crisp white paper. Yeah, no, I mean it's really blue in the book as well too.
Oh,
like,
okay,
it's
then.
blue as all hell.
Yeah, so this is the pages, and then you say there
cool,
should be before. Yeah, it is one before.
I think there was some before as well too. Yeah.
86 or 79. So 79 is another one. What's the number?
Yeah, and that's one I don't have that issue.
160. Oh, there you go. Okay. So this is the issue.
I think that's the issue. Maybe when Batman helps him find the Hook who killed him, the guy who killed him. I believe.
Wait, not wrong number. Sorry, the wrong number. Give me a sec. 179. I was putting some. There you go. Oh no, is it? Oh yes. What I'm talking about. I have this one in the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the infamous cover there.
Yeah. So, and the art in here is absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see. So.
I love how people draw Dead Man. He's always got his mouth open. It always looks like he's kind of in anguish and things. I love that stuff. Really kind of leans into that spirit, kind of ghost quality.
Beautiful art, I must say. Jesus. It looked fantastic. I definitely love that. But yeah, so because of this Dead Man omnibus, I'm really keen. Maybe Christmas, I treat myself. Maybe if it's going to be in stock. That's the problem with that Phantom Stranger omnibus. It's not going to be printed a lot, and if people are gonna like to buy it just because it's such a rare print version, because it has never been reprinted, especially his first appearances in 1950s. I don't know how long this is going to be in stock. The next one is Dead Man and Strange Things.
Yeah, Strange. Yeah, Strange Adventures or whatever.
Yeah, Strange Adventures. Yeah, so lots of stuff in here. This omnibus has all sorts of things. So it has Challenges of Unknown, Super Family, DC Superstars, DC Special, Adventure Comic Books 459 to 466, DC Comics Presents, DC Detective Comics 500, Secret Oranges 15, and Who's Who Definite Directory of DC Universe 6, 13, and 20. So it has a lot. That's
got
what I was
everything.
thinking. Yeah, basically.
I
That's
mean,
why.
as it should. I mean, they're calling it an omnibus. It should really
Yeah.
have everything, you know.
This one is a beast as well as a for the omnibus.
Yeah, what is it, like
Uh,
500 pages or something?
no, it's more. I think it's 1,000. It's 932 pages
Christ.
with bonus material, which is about 10 more pages. And the bonus material is the forward, like why I chose Deadman as my project on my summer vacation by Neil Adams, and covers of the
And
newer
covers.
versions,
Oh, yeah.
reprints
Yeah.
as well, as you can
So
see.
good.
Yeah, and then the the file thing, secret origin
Yeah.
stuff about Deadman.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, very nice omnibus, honestly, for the thing. Well, if you like, as I say, I don't have many of those Deadman stuff, and this is a perfect thing. This the same thing would be Phantom Stranger, but I'm torn, the price tags and blah blah blah,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need some extra cash.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Sell my soul to the dead man, just for a day, so I can have it.
Yeah.
Imagine that. No, a blank. I don't think I want to be invaded by dead man, because he's too filthy of all his mind, knowing him a little bit more what I've read of him. So
yeah.
Okay, my next thing, I will talk about turtles once again, but in comic book format, because I'm kind of intrigued to see that the character of Venus, another turtle female, which was introduced in 127 issue, this is 142 issue, she's back. But one fact I was not aware of is that this Venus character has first appearances in TV show. TV series called Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. So that's her first appearance, but in the comic format, her first appearance was in 127th issue of this run of Turtles, which is going to 142 already. I can't believe how long it's been since I had it, and I always panic when I don't get it. And thankfully, my comic book guy is still keeping up with me. So thankfully that. So the story is this murder is happening because the walls has fallen, and everybody mixing together. Everything seems to be humans, the mutants in New York living, blah blah blah, whatever that state they're living at. And turtles are struggling but in this one, what's really hard to take is they are fighting. Every single brother to each other is finding very difficult to stay together since the Splinter's death, since all these events which we had happening in the series. They are proper having an arguments, conversations, to the point of one wants to just be on holidays and the other wants just to do his own things. Raphael, like always, have trouble because he still wants to police the areas and streets. However, it's not always up to him. He's also have problems with other characters, Alopex in particular, because they had kind of sort of relationship together. They really kind of went almost to a romance sense of the relationship, but then they, due to an event, Turtles had to be working with somebody she didn't approve of, and that's why they kind of start arguing, and she basically became a new clan, or created a new clan. And yeah, there's a lot of this comic book in particular has lots of fight scenes between brothers, which is kind of interesting where they want to take this further to the story. It's as intriguing as always. Art styles is as spot on as always. There's differences between who's in art, but they always been very consistent, and that's story so far really helps. I think it's one of the strong points of this comic book, because it's such a long-running standing comic on the shelves. It's very helpful even for myself, even though I'm following it through from the issue 30, which I keep on telling. It's really still helps for me to understand exactly the points, because I'm not picking all of the turtle books, or because it's would be my shelves would be packed just with turtle comic books, because there's at least 1 or 2 comics per week, which I cannot afford to do so. So I'm just maintaining that. So in talking about the Venus character, she comes in right at the end of this comic. but she has this ability because she was experimented on. But then she has traveled to another dimension, I presume, or future. And the character I'm talking about is this one. So this is another female turtle called Venus. She has a dragon scale. She has an extra ability. She's sensual. Like she can kind of like she reads, I think, minds, or can be sensing other people's feelings. Anyway, she
Right.
comes back. She's coming back in the Turtles. She was kind of forgotten. She came through. They kind of left that storyline, and I was kind of thinking, are they just leaving it behind? We don't mean getting enough answers, but she's coming back because the dragon scales comes into fruition because the bad guy who's killing and murdering people, especially mutants, they were once again experimenting because Dr. Barlow, I think is his name, who is doing that. It's a bit crazy, man. They deciding that they want to cure mutants and turn them back into animals. That's the reasoning behind it. So she's coming in there because she was this experimenting on as well, and she has those dragon scales, which is kind of gives her extra abilities, a part of whatever she has as well. So interesting. There's two female turtles nobody were aware of, and she was empath, yes, or yeah, I think she's empath because the way she's communicating with one of the turtles, she's basically kind of like sense them. I don't know what's the ability. I'm drawing blanks because it's that storyline was being put about maybe 10, 20 issues before this one. So yeah, it's kind of, I kind of needed to go back and see what her story was really. So 127 is her first appearance. It was basically that far. So very intriguing. It's once again they haven't forgotten, so they reuse it, like using them. So they had to do this storyline with the big events, which is kind of always events do. They stop the stories, whatever happening, and they, just to push the story forward. I guess it's another complex maybe world, but it's extremely entertaining. And the new abilities they continue getting is enhancing them to a point, not only being a ninja clan members, they also have some other abilities now. So which makes more confusing, but and in the same way it's more entertaining because they have to kind of move forward with something else because it seems to be they continuously trying to experiment to where the turtles can go in this world. So, and which bad guys, but the continuous story, which still entertains me, is that they continue struggling being mutants. No matter how many people start to get used to them being mutants, they still don't think that it's something they can do. It's like that, like when the Splinter in the movie Mutant Mayhem was saying to the teenage boys, say like, they don't understand you, they're afraid of you. In here, because the walls has been down, humans kind of used to them now because they've seen them in news. They've always been around now for a period of time, and because the walls has been gone, they kind of like see the mutant actual because of another event happened where there lots of more mutants happens to be in existence. They kind of used to the idea of them, so it's another different way of dealing with it. It's like almost like X-Men, not really, but kind of X-Men like situation where we accept you, but we don't really like kind of thing. You like you in a way, in the same way. So, so yeah, very intriguing Turtles run, like always, never disappoints.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's kind of too bad though that there's so many that you can't, because you can't get the whole thing, right? Like it's too bad that there's a few titles at the same time. Where
they have extremely a lot of offshoots.
Yeah.
There's always, as I say, they concentrate on a character, they give them like 4 mini issue series, and then they continue. But the gist of the story is still there, because at the end of the day, completely concentrating on the Turtles itself. But a lot of offshoot stories are concentrating on them one character, for example, which gets, as I say, mini and story about background about them. But sometimes, honestly, there's some details I miss. Especially with those event books, like they had this event book for 10 issues. There lots of information came through, and they used that information. They don't just, event happened, let's forget about it for a while because maybe it wasn't successful enough. but they'll use that information and go forward. They always come back, so
Actually
they
build
kind of
on it.
feed you back that information. Yeah,
Right.
so interesting, but I'm
Which
okay
is
with
good.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Which is a good thing because I mean, what's the point of having these offshoots if it's not going to like build up the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just like some people like just to have it because kind of you have the world around you every single day of like or every week of the month kind of thing. So you're always ticking. You understand the information they provide
Hmm.
you with. For me, I
Hmm.
need that story so far just to keep me up to date because it's a
Yeah.
month break for me. Like every month I get one issue. So I
Right.
just
Right.
basically need to get a bit reminded to what I read before because I keep on panicking. I missed an issue somehow,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I never am. And I read like, oh yeah, I remember that kind of thing. You kind of get into the rhythm once again. So,
Hmm.
but I still love it. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just as
Cool.
entertained as always. So
Yeah.
cool.
Um. So sticking in the DC
Yeah.
magical realm,
Oh.
I also read. I did read some Phantom Stranger this week with a
Oh. Oh.
beautiful
Oh.
cover, issue
Oh.
number 18.
Oh.
Amazing kind of cover
Oh.
there with this ghostly woman figure and this tentacle coming up. This is still sort of in the era of it feels like it's more a transition. There was a period of time earlier on where Phantom Stranger was really kind of like the horror host. He still
Mhm.
is to some degree, but he does play a much bigger hand in this story. And it's a chunky issue as well, too. It's a really thick issue. There's a backup story that I didn't read. It's not a Phantom Stranger one. It's another story.
Oh.
I just read the Phantom Stranger
Uh-huh.
story, which takes up most of the issue.
Mhm.
Len Wein, writer, Tony DeZuniga, art, and it
Mhm.
was Joe Orlando era as editor. Um, just a really nice kind of lost at sea pirate type of ghost story,
Where's it? Oh wow, I like that.
pretty great, like really nice pages, really nice art. I wouldn't say there was anything mind blowing about the story itself. It
Mm-hmm.
was fun. It really had the feeling of like an older kind of ghost story kind of TV show. Yeah, it wasn't one of the better Phantom Stranger issues that I've read, but it was enjoyable. It really sits nicely in that kind of DC horror anthology world, House of Mystery, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Unexpected, all of that stuff, House of Secrets. But gorgeous art here, really nice kind of classic looking style to some of these character drawings. Like that face there is pretty amazing.
Oh
And
yes.
again, like you get those, you just don't get those textures if they would in the reprints. I doubt it's going to look kind of this. It'll probably look too sharp. The
Yes, it
kind of
does.
age into it is really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. That's what you're missing out. You can't get the whole. They're not using that kind of the technology of printing first of all. So
Yeah,
everything has to be scanned, and it loses that sort of feel to it. Like the paper printing and
absolutely.
the bleed of the ink and the paper quality at the end of the day. So,
Yeah,
oh,
right.
lovely. So
Like,
there's a
look at
new
that.
guy.
That looks like it's pulled right from an old horror show. And I love the
Exactly.
lettering on this here, too. All the lettering
Yeah.
that's coming out.
So there's a new guy. Is
Really,
that
yeah.
that one the Filipino? Yes, isn't it? Or am I?
Yes, yeah. Disney,
Yeah,
yeah.
he is. Yeah,
Some of
so
this
one of
stuff
the
here is really nice,
great
too.
Filipino artists. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Mm-hmm. Lovely, man. Oof,
Yeah.
look at
So
that.
super fun. And then the final one, I finally, it's beat to hell. This cost me a massive total of $3 whole. It's the
Mm-hmm.
spine is taped. For some
Mm.
reason, this one costs a lot of money when I see it out there, like way too much that it's like there's
What's
no
the?
way.
Oh
This
yes.
was the final one that I needed from this original kind of, I guess, volume one of Spectre Solo. This is
Mm-hmm.
issue number 3, and it's got Wildcat, and I think that's why, because it's not a Wildcat origin story, but it sort of is at the same time. I mean, yeah, I've got to be extra careful with this one. You can see here the pages are separated and
Oof.
stuff, but I finally got it, which is great. To kind of finish this run. Spectre, again, one of those characters that I just love.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was interesting for this first stuff here is kind of, let's take Ditko and go even beyond Ditko. This is two entities fighting creating galaxies here, and this is how they're represented on page 1. I thought it was really amazing. It looks like it could take place in a Doctor Strange story. I really like the
Definitely,
way this
yes.
looks.
Yeah.
Very, very abstract. Yeah, this whole thing is almost falling apart. And again, Spectre. Yeah, look at
Push.
that. Spectre
Oh
is such
no.
a fun character. I'm really excited to. I mean, eventually I'll upgrade it somewhat, I guess, but I'm just
Hmm.
very excited to kind of have this finished now because it wasn't a very long run. This Spectre stuff. So we
Hmm.
get Wildcat for a chunk there. Let's fast forward to where we see the Spectre. Wildcat seems like an sort of interesting character, not something that really appeals to me too much.
Apparently,
Let's
he's
see.
one of the best runs in Justice Society,
Okay.
and he's quite a prominent character in there. And I have the
Look at
run.
that. Look at that shit. That's
Yeah.
an amazing appearance of the
Oh,
Spectre there, kind of
oh.
manifesting out of the clouds. And man,
So
beautifully done there.
is it Neil Adams on this one? Because
I'm
Neil
pretty
Adams
sure it is. Yeah.
done the cover. That's why it's more
Yeah.
pricey. But is it actually is in
Um,
art inside because he is more?
it's gotta be, but
It looks like him.
as usual,
Difficult
let's
to
make sure
find
we hide the credits. God forbid we tell people what we're looking at, but I'm 99% sure that it is.
because the way just the figures and the way it's drawn, like really screams like.
Yeah. Look at that
Yeah,
face. Like good use of color to represent the Spectre there in that middle
yeah,
panel, that
yeah.
abstract kind of shaped panel.
Mm.
So it was fun. I was more excited just to kind of finish it off. Some of
Mm.
these issues are really great though.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's just how they kind of hold the
Oh
character, how they pose the character,
yeah,
how he
very nice.
interacts with everything around him, But yeah,
Those
this
hands.
if it wasn't for the tape, this would just be single pieces of paper
The
hanging
hands
around.
behind the head is the
Yep.
musculature is so well done because it looks like
Yeah.
he's holding it, but he's relaxed at the same time. It's just beautifully
Yeah.
done. The quality. Oh my god, that comic book is gonna fell apart before you. I'm
I know.
gonna
Yeah.
close
Like I
it.
said, if it wasn't for the tape, I would just have single pieces of paper in my hand. But again,
Yeah.
that's why it was
Oof.
$3, right? So
Yeah. Especially in that
how
area.
beautiful that is. Yeah. So very,
Yeah.
very exciting to have that sucker. I'm gonna put it away before
Yeah.
it falls
Looks
apart
like he's
there. But yeah,
soon you're gonna be
beautiful.
making in your hands. It's gonna become a confetti, like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just crumble away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, a good week of reading like the DC Magic stuff. I love these characters. I
Yeah.
love, and this is when I think of DC. This is the stuff that, along with the Vertigo stuff, these are the characters that really resonate. I mean, Phantom Stranger being a newer one for me because it's not something I wasn't reading Phantom Stranger back then, but Spectre and Deadman especially are absolutely characters that my mind goes straight to them when I think of early DC stuff. That's kind of my go-to from early days of reading DC.
So before I'm going to talk about some other comic I read. Did you hear about the Fables and Mark Buckingham's problem with DC Comics?
No.
So Mark Buckingham got pissed off with DC comic books because he's had trouble with them and the rights of Fables to them, and they basically forced him to basically kind of like said to him, okay, you can employ lawyers, but we can get away with anything because apparently since the DC's takeover by many companies, DC has changed the no return, and apparently it's kind of like become the house of war just to make money but not integrity anymore. So Mark Buckingham had problems with them because they continue new series of Fables, which he is completely going to go away from. He is leaving the DC part of the world. I think he's going to stop writing for them as well, even though he has a contract, I think, if I understood that correctly. But what he did, he wants to put Fables, his baby, basically, who he wrote from the beginning of issue number 1, to as a public domain to people to use, so DC comic books wouldn't be able to use. And like the rights to how they like to deal with people, like famous Alan Moore situation. It seems to be Mark Buckingham is the next one. next of the writers who got pissed off with DC comic books, and he's kind of trying to give that in public domain as fables, but they're also saying that but fables can be really is actually kind of a public domain because of the characters he's been using in fables is retelling stories of Red Riding Hood and all that stuff. So
Okay.
but the whole point is that can't work anymore for DC comic books because of the corporation to what the comics the company itself is. He cannot work for.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And as it goes on Fridays, I mean, I'm in and out at the best of times, so I missed that. I'll have to go back and watch that. So I guess maybe I don't understand.
Yeah.
So Fables was Vertigo, right? And Vertigo, the whole idea of Vertigo was that it wasn't the creators had complete ownership of stuff, though, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't full complete. So apparently he doesn't have, but then because of his some sort of right, there's some sort of rights he has to them, and then he didn't. He wasn't agreed in them because apparently he's been chasing payments from DC comic books. Apparently they threatened him to say that we can do whatever we want because we have great lawyers, and he said, I can't afford anybody. I'm not a corporation of that magnitude. At the end of the day, I'm just a man.
So then I guess my next question is, how is he able to make it public domain then if he doesn't 100% own it?
Yeah. So with the whole, he was tired of the current leadership. Yes. Yeah. And the atmosphere of behind the scenes.
I can only imagine the behind the scenes bullshit of some of those. I can only fucking imagine.
Yeah. So anyway,
Andrew's saying he owns the property.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, but he says the property doesn't, the fables, the name, and all that, whatever comic books.
Yep.
That's what he wants. He doesn't want the DC comic books being able to reprint that anymore as their own thing. But we're saying also, but the fables are the characters of somebody else's creation already, which is public domain already. That's why we were able to use it. But the iteration of the characters he used in the comic itself for DC Comics.
Right, because they changed them just enough to make them unique characters.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Alan Moore did with Watchmen and that sort of thing.
And the franchise is actually quite big. Don't forget they have TV series, which is kind of supposedly based on fables, but wasn't named of it. Once Upon a Time. That's basically fables to you. Also, the game came out of it as well. Don't forget. So I don't know exactly how because even himself can't fully explain how can he make that a public domain because of that situation. But he does basically what he's trying to do, that basically DC comic books won't have anything to do with it anymore, even though they're still creating new series. And he's wishing all best luck to the new creators of the continuation of Fable series, and telling the artists, I hope you're doing, you're going to continue doing a great job. But he's not going to take any part of it anymore. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly, as well. That part of it.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. So they didn't go to him, and they sort of took it over. Wow, fuck, man.
And they saying to him that we have the lawyers, we can do whatever.
Yeah, we'll fuck you regardless.
Try us if you can. Like you can't. You don't.
Fucking horseshit, but they're not wrong. They're totally not wrong. They've got the fucking money and the lawyers to back up.
Yeah, so that's why he's
contract. We're gonna do what we want anyway.
Yeah. So I was thinking to mention to you. So you get, I read snippets of it. I have but I'm just sad to hear another guy who is he's such a good storyteller, and the fables, he made those fables to his own, because if you have read at least a little bit, it's really well told, and the characters are superbly established in them. Yeah.
I mean, it's always. William still can't reprint the Vertigo series, but he can do new stories outside DC, and so can you. Yeah, it's always disappointing. It's never surprising. It's always disappointing when people live up to the stereotype. When a corporation acts like a corporation, it's not a surprise, but it's always disappointing. Like, just a fucking scumbag. Which no surprise whatsoever.
Yeah.
What a shock! They're gonna treat people like shit, and they're gonna do what they want. What a shock! This is my shock face.
Yeah.
It's just really unfortunate that hopefully something good comes out of it. I guess Alan Moore, maybe, I don't know if that's why Alan Moore was in the news lately as well,
Yeah.
because he's decided to not take any royalties from stuff too and donate it to Black Lives Matter or whatever. And
Yeah.
he's done another round of saying, you know, people who read superhero comic books are infantile and, you know, the usual stuff that I love reading because it gets people so worked up. They take it so personally, you know, it's so funny. But yeah, so I don't know
Anyway,
if those
so
two had anything to do with each other because Willingham was in the news or whatever, but
yeah, it's just a pity that he has to get to that point where he's completely, you know, put into the corner, and he doesn't have really a fighting chance because he's fighting against a big giant at the end of the day, and he's just a lonely writer, to be honest, you know, so who's basically just trying to get what he's being
entered a
worth.
contract.
Yeah.
Entered a contract with the devil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna enter a contract with the devil, they're gonna fuck you, man. It's just they're gonna find a way to fuck you. So you gotta be ready to get fucked because that's what's gonna happen. No matter how they shine it up, they're gonna fuck you at some point, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you know, it doesn't help for him that DC Comics were being sold to many companies beforehand. So nothing, whoever he was made the contract with, it probably doesn't exist anymore in that place. You know, I mean, whoever is in charge was. So there's another kicker when the company like that size gets taken over or bought over by somebody of bigger magnitude as well.
Yeah, right.
You know, whoever, they have like probably 100 lawyers who can do just
that's right, because they're,
you know,
huge. Absolutely.
Research can be done and find the loopholes.
Yeah, right.
Which is absolute sad part of it, but you know, I really
like
like
get your money and get the hell out. Do some work for them, get your money and fuck off, you know, like
that's why do you have so many writers and artists going in their own like Image comic books, create their own series, because how far can you take? You know, you get to the industry, you get your name out. It's unfortunately you have to go, like you say, write your name to a devil and then escape if you can with a clean slate and start creating. But you have to scratch it again. You know, like you have to build it up again.
Or not even clean. Just go in with a specific goal. Again, like I hate to bring up these guys all the time, but honestly, the way these jokers dealt with them, I think was smart. Like they knew what they were getting into.
Yeah.
They did stuff. They took the money. They used it to get name credit. They used that. They used the machine and then got the fuck out of the machine and said, see you later. Now we got our own stuff. Like I was watching a stream with Lonnie Nadler and Jenna Cha, who did the Sickness, who are these creators of the Sickness. And somebody in the comments asked, are you going to, because Lonnie Nadler, I guess, has worked with Marvel in the past. I'm not overly familiar with him. Are you guys ever gonna work on any of those characters? And they were kind of like, I don't really have interest, yada yada yada. It's like, fuck that, man. Use that. Go in, write something, get the hell out, but go in with your eyes open, collect a paycheck that then will sustain you to be able to work on your own things. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be part of the machine. You can dip your toes into it and piss off, build yourself some even more name recognition, right? Like tap into another audience, get your name on the tips of people's tongues. And then, hey, by the way, we have a whole bunch of stuff that we've done independently that you can buy and support, you know? So, yeah.
Well, part of the business, I guess. It's the thing you have to learn, and then in the hard way as well.
Business,
but yeah, business is business as always. Like
absolutely, business is business. That's right. Just because it has art attached to it doesn't mean it's still business, you know.
Yeah. So I'm gonna next talk about a character, well, a creator you well for sure know him. It's one of those the skivers, but the good ones. So I finally found finally found his name in my library. Basically, Fantagraphic books are quite good part of my library systems in this where I live, but I haven't seen no one skivers that many stuff. I saw this one straight away, really nicely plastered. I'm to be honest, I wasn't extra like since you showed me a couple of stuff from your videos, Terence. I think, and I watched, of course, I watched quite a few videos of Noah doing in YouTube. So I'm familiar with him as a kind of like interviewer rather than an artist. So I never delved into his world and his head. And his head is bizarre as you can take it, you know, like he has some stories to tell in this one. And this Quiet, is that's how you say it, is
Hmm.
a lots of short stories collection of lots of short stories. He created it. The most prominent, I guess, because it's one of the first things I read, is the if this one, yeah, the lizard laughed. Anyway, it starts really well. It's the color pencils. His art style is kind of interesting. When he goes to color, it seems a
Yeah.
little bit different. When he goes to his black and white, he has this different take to it itself. Another interesting point on this one, there's a foreword of a lady called Robin Edwards, and she was a girlfriend of the time when he was creating these short stories. And
Mm.
even himself, I think he has the talks about his book in his own video, saying that this cover, he loves this band. I don't know the name of it. He said to me, but apparently the band cover, he had to put this in his comic book as well. When he said about this forward about this lady, she's like, this lady who I was dating for 5 years, she had the forward in this book, and he didn't say anything else that, but she's praising him, like to what Noah Skywell was in that time in this life. And apparently all these short stories were created in that time while we were going out. And he also said that they split up, so his feelings were all over the place in that time when he was creating these stories, because he's saying it's like a journey. He's saying throughout, like goods and bads, and you find the way out.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of stories in here, but the little laughed story was, I guess, the most intriguing to me. Was maybe it's the first one, maybe it's the strongest for me. It's about the guy who is, minding his own business, kind of. The guy likes to smoke, likes to contemplate in the desert with his mates, until the point where he receives a phone call that he's saying that his lost, forgotten son that he actually had, he actually forgotten about him. He wants to come and see him, because he left the family. He's the guy, like those hippie type of the guys where his relationship never been a good ones. He also jumped into a marriage before making decisions, and he basically, I guess, had a child, but decided to basically escape because he couldn't deal with the consequences. And then so he comes into the bus station to pick up his son. He has this awkward thing happening with him at the beginning, like that awkward hello to lost, forgotten dad, for the son especially. And the dad is like, kind of like, oh, hello, how are you doing? Like nothing happened, like that kind of like father figure, which is not great for the son whatsoever. And it goes a little bit dark. I thought it's gonna go dark even furthermore, but it didn't. So anyway, so comes visit, and he's this hippie dad of his, like, said, okay, let's go for a walk. I'll show you some great sceneries. My favorite rock formation, and he's gonna tell him a little bit stories. So he's telling the stories about what he's been up to, kind of thing. They have this awkward conversation to kind of find out who they actually are, and then they go for the hike. And then he shows this rock formations, and it's called Little Laugh because he's telling the story of this rock which looks like a lizard who's laughing, according to him. So anyway, the end of the story was where his son got so fed up with his supposed dad. He asked him a question why you left him. See, I had to escape because I couldn't live like this anymore. And he's like, what about me and you and my mom? Well, sorry about whatever happened to you in life, but this is life, kind of thing. So he got even more angrier. And he got the point where he takes his gun while he sleeps in the same house before he leaves. And he goes to dad's bedroom with the gun out. But nowhere when Skyver points the gun at him, but he runs away, and the guy wakes up sweating, saying, what has just happened? So I don't know if it was a dream or one of his, like smoking things, but this
close.
is, he was this close to being basically departing to another realm. And he basically, the son just leaves on the bus to his own journey or life, to whatever it is. Really great. I really like this. One of the best scenes of the. So
yes, coloring is really nice, man.
I know. I love this coloring. So it's over. It's like this short story about the guy who dumped the girl. The girl wanted to become a marine. They somehow find each other after 10 years later, have a shag in the car, and decide. And he kind of wants his way, and she realizes that's why they split it up, because he keeps on wondering away about the other females. And that's the story basically of
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
one. So it's interesting. It's lots of things. Also about a guy called Elijah Lovejoy, and he's a guy of the guy who likes to speak liberty in 1802, and he was a kind of like sort of that new beginning journalist in the era, who apparently had views when nobody wanted to like, just before the
Mm.
Civil War happened, because he was uh, trying to protect the African American people, because they decided that this guy got wronged in the village, and they basically burned him alive in front of everybody else. So he was basically having a newspaper and the printing opinions, which a lot of people and villagers didn't agree with him, and they decided to basically come and close all the prints places where he basically managed to establish and put the word out. And the slew of the gang of people comes in to basically destroy them or kill them, and destroy all the information, so they don't basically give the false information to other people and spread
Hmm.
the word. And instead they end up killing him, shooting him down. And then apparently at the end of the day, I don't know how much is the factual. It looks factual, but I didn't check for facts if it actually
Right.
really happened. Apparently they erected
I'd be surprised if it wasn't factual. He seems like
yeah,
that kind of guy from what I know about him.
yeah. So and they said that he had um what does it says? Yeah, he was buried in Alton Cemetery in Madison County, Illinois. He's considered a martyr, an oh my god, abolitionist movement, and his
Hmm.
brother Owen Lovejoy became the leader of the Illinois abolitionists. Sorry, in the 1890s, the monument was erected for his honor as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's absolutely this one. This was weird. So it's about the girl who has the dad who's a drunk, almost like this fairy tale about Red Riding Hood. And then
Hmm.
basically she has a dad. She has a step mother, and the mother has a son. And then the stepmother doesn't want to have a daughter in here anymore, because she wants the dad to take care of the stepmother and the son rather of his own daughter. So daughter escapes to the woods, finds this cabin, lights the wood, gets the comfortable, finds some food, makes the fire, and then hears a knock on the door, and this is floating cow's head comes to talk to her, and she's like, "Feed me," and he's like, "Look here, oh, I don't know if you can say." Feed me the stew you made, and the cow is headless. So while she's feeding, everything was basically dropping on the floor. So she's basically feeding, like using the food what she just made, because she wants to just get warm, feeding to this cow. And then she wakes up in the morning after that. She finds the gold, and the dad afterwards finds her, looks for her, because he doesn't agree with this wife and stuff like that. And then basically she ends up going in, and for her own life with the money she been gained by the headless cow. So it's interesting. It's a very entertaining read. A lot of information, lots of great stories, lots of like maybe a bit forgetful, but it's really interesting to see his art style and his way of thinking, kind of thing.
And
So
it sounds
it's
like it's good to get like a cross section of a bunch of different styles of storytelling as well, too.
yeah, like this one is all in color. It's about the
Mm.
girl who is basically has a bicycle, but she doesn't want to go into buy a car because she saw this is horrendous car crash, but it's Christmas, so she basically rides bicycle and she decides to go and visit her family at Christmas. It's a Christmas Eve. She goes to see her family. She sees her brother, and brother says like, "What you doing here?" And they kind of have a conversation. He's like kind of drunk in his 30s who's living with his mum. And she's like more independent thing, and they're having this conversation, and he's like, like I wonder why it's so hard for me to grow up. I'm 32 and I'm living with mom. I should kill myself. And she's like, yeah, you should. So you know those sibling conversations, like like full in your face. And I think knowing Skyver's brother, maybe he has
Yeah,
some
yeah.
sort of issues with siblings as well. And there's another story about dress up. It's kind of weird of the guy who is basically dressed up as a superhero, saves the people in the diner, but he's been laughed at because he dressed up as a superhero in order to save somebody, saying, why you go at the gunpoint to save somebody as a superhero? That's a stupid thing to do. They said, like, I'm just trying to be helpful, but he became a laughing stock. So it's really a lot of stuff like Pumpkin's Lizard. This is the kind of story about lizards who comes and kills people, and there's this one guy who's trying to like save everybody. Honestly, absolutely entertaining. Lots of to say, but as honestly as a first time reading, honestly, the full front to cover, knowing what Sky will work, I'm intrigued. I think there's much more to him, and I think it seems to be that he has. This is one of kind of like what not the beginning of the stuff, but already kind of like not yet established to what he is, isn't it? This was published when 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So he even said himself that this is one of the works he's been doing, and kind of like the chapter of his life where he's basically it's just the beginning of this kind of comic career. He decided to become one. So he's not yet established to what kind of a year he wants to go, but he's been doing a lot of those short stories, and that's what he's famous for, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to see creators and artists, early days, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's still a Fantagraphic books. It's discovered. This has been loved, which is great to see. His library book it seems to be quite popular as well.
Yeah,
so it's nice to see. Actually, I know that they had it. Like you can go the way it works in my country here in the library system. You go online, check whatever in the system they have the works, and I've seen it, but somebody always taking it. And I'm trying to save every buck. I kind of look for the books in the library rather than paying £1 to order it for me to basically come and pick it up. So, but finally I found it, which is great. It's the right moment kind of thing. Like I said, I had a break from not going to library, and I was like looking for things, and I wasn't really into stuff I was looking at time. And this is a kind of really a good kickback because I know the creator because I'm watching his YouTube videos. It's nice to actually intake what he's all about as a creator of the comics. And he's probably very good for, I think he would be great to do zines, and I think he has been doing zines beforehand, wasn't he? Or am I mistaken on that?
I'm honestly not sure. I assume so, that he was doing some small press stuff, but I'm Colin, if Colin was here, he could tell us. He's a big Van Sciver fan.
Yeah, I know that what he was doing, he was making zines as far as I remember. I don't know, maybe I'm confusing with somebody else, but maybe he was doing zines and leaving in the cafes, so people this is how he was wanting to put his name out, so he just leaves the work behind, so for somebody else to see. I guess that's how the interesting part of how they wanted to be heard, or his work. And then apparently there's some information in the back of the zines you always have, isn't it? You provide where you are from, your website and something, and apparently people would give him feedback if they liked the work or they didn't like the work, and so like that. So it's very intriguing.
Yeah,
it's good to know. Yeah, so one of the first things I read from Noah and Skyler.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Your turn.
Why don't I go to this one? I mean, it's been a pretty mainstream kind of week.
Batman. Batman.
Raphael Grampa, his Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. I've been waiting for this one. I'm so glad that it's here. It was actually not a bad issue. It's mind-blowing to me. Like, I've been a fan of Raphael Grampa since I first discovered Mesmo delivery service, which is, yes, it was out. Drunken Sailor. This came out this week, this past Wednesday. Man, oh man, it's amazing to me the leaps that this guy has gained in popularity. This is I feel like this is going to be a huge book. So if you guys do have it on your pull list, go and grab it, because I do feel like this is one that's going to sell out pretty quick. it's actually kind of an interesting take on Batman, you know, because I
Mhm.
mean, one of the things that everybody says, and I'll just add my voice to the din there, that it's really hard to do anything interesting with this character because it's just kind of treading the same water. I
Mhm.
kind of think there's maybe something here. I mean, we'll see when the next issue comes out.
Oh, look at those
But
things.
yeah,
Sorry.
it really is treating him like a, I don't know, man. I don't want to give too much away, so maybe I won't say anything.
Yeah,
It's
because people.
I feel like it's an interesting angle, and we'll see where it goes. I think I'll leave it at that. But man, do I love, for me, the draw was his art. I love his art. I wasn't really expecting anything with the storytelling. Again, I've grown kind of away from all of this stuff. As far as some of the Batman stories and things, I do for the most part think they're pretty fucking dull. But
Mhm.
the art was the draw, and it's a nice surprise that there's actually a mildly interesting story here where I am kind of curious to see where it goes. The use of color in this book is really nice. He's always so good with kind of his sound effects and how they really differentiate themselves from other sound effects in other books, and how they really work as part of the panel themselves. Like that crash there, I think is really nice. It reminds me of uh someone whose name I blanked on. But anyway,
Mhm.
I like the way that he uses the onomatopoeias as part of the frame and really mixes up that lettering style. But his line work is really nice. Let's see the full credits here. So Rafael Grandpa, writer and artist. Mateus Lopez is the colorist, and then John Workman is doing the lettering. So, and that's, I guess, where I don't maybe understand the division of labor. When I think of the lettering, I assume that Workman is doing the stuff in the balloons, whereas if there's sound effects, my assumption is that Grandpa is doing those, like that he would be doing this, and then
Oh.
Workman would be doing the text here, is my guess. But
Mhm.
what do so really interesting. We get Detective Gordon, so puts us in an era here as well too. Yeah, and I won't tell you too much about the story, just because
Yeah.
I think it's a nice. It's a nice way that it's revealed. I'll see if there's any other good pages. I like his suit here. I think is pretty great. You can
Mhm.
see like the pads for his legs and how it kind
Mhm.
of buckles in. So you get a nice look at his version of the Batman costume, and the boots there. They'll look very kind of tactical, you know.
Mhm.
He doesn't look like a guy you're gonna fuck with in this image here. So
It looks like
um,
he has a horse riding protection things from the shaving. You know, like the horse riders have that.
yes,
You know
right,
me? You know what I'm
yeah,
talking about? It's like that
I,
clipped on thing. I don't know what they call it. Horse
yeah,
riders,
right.
but just
That's a
have that.
good pose there too, as he's
Yeah.
scaling the building. I think that's really good. It feels like there's tension on that line and stuff, and he's really hanging off there.
Mm.
Yeah, he's got a great style.
So is this a
Let's
mini?
Um, yeah, but I'm not sure how many issues it's gonna be. It's going to for sure be a second issue because he's
Mm-hmm.
already announced it, so that's a good thing. But again, I
Mm-hmm.
really feel like look at this image here, man. I feel like this is going to be a big hit for them because of his name, and you know, as ridiculous as some of the promotion stuff I've been seeing, I follow him on Instagram, and he had this kind of behind the scenes where with the studios, really a very produced kind of video where he's got these people working with him, and they're in this cave and they're working on his Batman comic, and it was kind of cheesy, to be honest. But I do feel like he's got a bit of that rock star sensibility about attached to his name there.
Is
Yeah,
he
this was another.
writing or who is writing this?
He's writer and artist is Rafael
Oh,
Grandpa.
okay. Okay,
And
cool.
there's another one that Zawak there, the way that sits on the page.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
So I'd recommend it for sure. I wouldn't hesitate.
Price tag?
Um, I think there was variant covers as well too, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know, man. I just went for his cover
Yeah.
because
How much is it? Is it like four ninety
um,
nine or
it's a $6.99 or so, a
whoa?
US $6.99. but it is a
Oh,
bit thicker than your average
i-
everyday book there. So
is that that format? Yeah, it's a special
yeah, it's that
format.
format, and I was surprised. So I guess again, it makes me confused about because I thought that maybe because it was Black Label, it was coming
It
out in
would
that
be big.
magazine type
Yeah,
size.
yeah.
So the Ashcan edition that came out a couple of weeks ago was comic book size as well. So again, it leads me to be like, I don't know, what I am missing about what an Ashcan version is
Yeah.
versus the real version because I assumed that the Black Label would be the magazine size and the Ashcan then would make sense as a comic book size, but they're both comic book size, and I haven't looked into it to see what that Ashcan version contains. Maybe it contains some extra stuff. Not that I would buy it because the price on those is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, well worth picking up though. Honestly, well worth picking up.
So the story sticks to you? To where from this one? Do you like is the artist what you're driving it forward next
The
issue
art is
or
the main draw for me, and the story
yeah.
is just kind of a nice surprise that the story is actually kind of interesting because honestly, I wasn't expecting anything story wise. I was expecting I just want something that's going to move me through page to page with his art because I know he's going to have some limitations. He drops the F-bomb a few times in here because it's Black Label, so it's adult, which to me is kind of whatever. I again, like, because I know what I most know him for is Mesmo Delivery, and that was a bonkers comic. It's so great. That was my introduction to him when I first saw that book.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this energy and he had this kind of attitude that I thought was really, really great. He was kind of in that independent scene or whatever. And then he's gained all this momentum. So I do feel like this is him. This is clearly his voice, but obviously he's got some limitations on what he can do with the character. I assume
Yeah.
those limitations are a little bit less because it's Black Label. He's allowed to kind of go a little
Yeah.
bit beyond.
Yeah.
But honestly, the story was a surprise. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Is it the best thing I've ever read? No, for sure not. But there was enough there that holds my interest. And once the second issue comes out, then I can maybe talk more freely about what I liked about this first one, the points that I liked about it.
Uh-huh.
Because yeah, I
Uh
feel like it's got an interesting little angle there that I'm curious to see how that plays out.
yeah. It's kind of I mean, the Black Label. I think I'm wondering if they're not wearing off from the big format because not everybody's happy about it because storage issues and stuff like that. But then I just thought sometimes I don't understand when they go one way, then they go another one.
Yeah.
So if you stick to one thing, stick to one thing. Black Label, Black Label. Make it that extra because at the end of the price tag is a bit higher. You want it to be
Well, and
prestige
that's the thing. I would love
formats.
to see. I would love to see his art at even just that little bit bigger size.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would love to
exactly.
see some of those pages and some of those panels a
Yeah,
little bit bigger.
exactly. Yeah, but it looks very good inside. Definitely
Yeah,
graphically is strong. So Rafael Grampa is Brazilian, is it? Or am I?
I believe so. Yes, I believe
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I was in my head. I just somehow I wanted to know
Yeah.
that to register
And I
in my
mean, he
brain.
hasn't done it. He hasn't done a ton of like comics work. He's done a
Yeah,
lot of covers for things. He did
yeah,
obviously the last thing he did was with Frank Miller, the new Dark Knight thing, whatever that was called, which was such
yeah,
a shit story. It was just awful. That one was purely about seeing his art for me
yeah,
personally,
yeah.
because the story was it was absolutely forgettable.
Mm-hmm. I see. Interesting. Very good. It looks good. I really do enjoy
Hmm.
the look inside. Graphically is extremely strong. It seems to be in confident as well.
Yeah.
That's what you see, when they already know they think what they can do on a piece of paper and they use that to their own strengths, especially that wording, so, those movements. So
Yeah.
that is just stylistically extremely pleasing to your eye, isn't it?
Totally.
Okay. So my last book for this
Okay.
evening is another Fantagraphics. And this one is by a Finnish lady, apparently. I didn't know that beforehand. And this is Solomon's Last Dance by Daria Tesla. She apparently had the book beforehand, which was what made her popular.
Hmm.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba. I had no idea that he worked with them.
Okay, there you go. And this is a extremely well, in my book, was kind of trippy slash, I don't know, the style of the creations, but I really enjoyed. It's black and white. It's color in here, color in the back, beautiful, beautiful, but it's black and white inside. It is just published in 2022, was it? Come on, show me where's the. Oh yeah, 2022. So it's a story about a magician who goes into sort his brain out, and he decides to go to Dr. Silkini, a guy who, if you're unfulfilled or success got you down, seeking connection to your deep earth muse, a guide to you to the pearly gates to full life satisfaction, apparently. Our style is incredible for me, to be honest. I think it should be definitely your cup of tea.
Yeah.
The way she's very graphic stylistic when it comes to panels. Apparently the girl hasn't read her comics from the beginning. Also, she started to kind of familiarize herself with comic books more prominently in her 30s. And the first comic book she created, she said that it was more poetic than comic style, because she wasn't really aware how comic books was working. Apparently she had struggles beforehand. Her eyes were wandering way too many times through the comic panels, and she wasn't understanding how to read that. Like her brain wasn't understanding, because I guess, to language barrier as well, because if she's Finnish and stuff, but Finnishes usually learn in the English quite early. But anyway, she was saying that she was confused at the beginning of her life, but then the friends of the help, she was getting more into comic books, and she became more comfortable with doing that. So yeah, and so it's a second work of this. I forgot the name of the first one. Oh wait, I think I have the information here. What is it called? Because I was reading an interview of hers before. The Cult of the Abyss. Ibis. That's the first creation of hers. Anyway, so basically this is the guy who comes because he knows how to get into your brain and solve all the problems. And this magician comes in to ask for help. He says, okay, wonderful, just come a week later and we're going to sort you out. So apparently this psychologist or / whatever guy, he comes and he needs a week prepared, because he goes and spies on his customers beforehand to understand the goods, the bads, and whatever what sticks with them. So, and if they go to see the magician at work, and they see this fascinating magic work of his, how he's working this cloak and things disappears and reappears, and suddenly from the magician to a dancing dog. And everybody was so fascinated, even themselves who were doing research. They're going like, what is this going on? Nobody understands how this magic trick works. Anyway, so, and what he sees in it is that the dog kills this psychologist, and they become like so intrigued with it. So when the guy comes into his place to solve all the problems, they decided to drug him with some sort of tea. I don't know what's in tea, probably psychotropics or something. He drinks it, he falls asleep. They basically open the scalps and walks into it, because they take the same tea. And in order to enter his brain, they have to drink it. And he has this helper who goes on the journey of the brain. Very trippy. I don't know what to take of it. It's fantastic. There's one of the scenes where they talk about zip a banana. It's one of the magician tricks they found in his brain. And you open the banana and it's not real, but then suddenly it becomes real because he starts eating it, zips it back, and it becomes again like a plush banana. So while they're doing that in the brain, the assistant of his opens the banana, eats it, vomits inside it, and zips it back. So it's fascinating. And then the banana goes, "Hey, what you up to?" kind of thing. So it's very trippy. It's kind of like going on in here. And also she's using the actual pictures in the backgrounds. And I guess if you've been hallucinating or going into somebody's brain, you will see this kind of imagery. So yeah, it's very fascinating. How it ends, it's hilarious as well. But I'm not going to say it because I think it's the dealer or breaker for for the story itself. So if I show it to you, it would be kind of much interesting if you guys want to explore this book by yourself. But this is the best scene of there where the dogs plays the poker, and whoever loses has to trim their fur, and they really hate that because they look less of the dog. And they all have this conversation. It's quite funny and intriguing to read. So yeah, so one of the intriguing reads of the week, I think, for me. It's more a relaxed read with I think you'd always have your take at the end of it. You can, whatever happens. As I say, I don't want to spoil it. I think it's really rewards you right at the end with this dog, and dog becomes a thing of the theme, or is it a dog? I don't know, because it still feels like the man was still completely tripping, because they go inside the brain, they actually goes out, they find what they were looking for, they close the brain, they capture the dog, because that's what they were going for, because the dog is the key of the story as well. You capture the dog, and what the dog does to them, that's the most intriguing part. And is it the dog or is it in the dog? That's what I'm going to leave it to you to it. As I say, I don't want to spoil it because I think it's a reward for that. Really beautiful. I love
it. Looks really nice. I love the interiors.
This format is really fantastic by Fantagraphics. I really like the size of it. It's extremely comfortable to hold in your hands. It's definitely much bigger when you're a typical comic. And it lends to the art. And I think this kind of artists are needing this kind of format to just show the intentions of the storyline. Because as I say, it's fantastic. Because as you can see in here, that's a picture she's using for the background, because they're going in somebody's brain, and whatever the brain, it's like whatever it's in your brain, whatever kind of filth you can find in there, your ups and downs, your things. So yeah, and then they find a real fish in the back and an actual fish like living, and you open zipping up, and the fish like kind of let me out of it, I want to live, kind of thing. So it's kind of intriguing. So there, I think it would be interesting if somebody would be having something in order to read this after, and how far would they take the story further down. So yeah, really cool. One of the best,
very cool
or interesting takes. So, and it's very it's like when you hold one of the not many people has read this one, so it's very fresh and new. So it's intriguing. But Fantagraphics is really entertaining because it's the scale of who they're gonna publish is so vast and it's unpredictable, and it opens the platform to lots of artists and stuff. By the way,
and it feels like in the last year you have read so much Fantagraphic stuff.
Oof,
it feels
well, it is, because as I say, Fantagraphics is one of the every single time there's some more new fresh book, the library usually have it. So I think it's a quite popular things to, I guess, because the popularity of people who's liking it or suggesting them to get is most of the time from publishing from Fantagraphics. So, which is great for me, because honestly, sometimes to get hold of some of these books, it's not as easy, it's not something it would be on my list. But it's so nice to be able to explore the world of Fantagraphics. It opens, as I say, opens me to so much more what comic books actually can do, and especially a creator like her, who has not been in comic books for a really long time, or she said, I don't know if I still like it, but then she's talking about the books she's been discovering, and I took a note of one of the manga she read, because apparently it's the book of the year for her, and I looked it up. Oh, it's called Non-Nonba by Shigeru Mizuki. It's about this old lady.
I don't know that.
Wait a second. Can I have a better picture? Oh, there you go. It's a bit more clear. I'm going to show you my phone. It's not going to be great, but if you can see that one.
Make yourself big again. Yeah, it doesn't look familiar at all to me.
Yeah, it's just recently published as well, so it's kind of
Right.
fresh. So
I feel
it's
like I should know that name, but it's not ringing any bells. The style looks kind of familiar, but
yeah. If I can, while you talk, if you talk about
yep,
next book you read, I can maybe look for the information. I will tell you more about this.
sure.
Shigeru Mizuki.
We'll do a special guest appearance. Lillian has
Oh,
shown up.
Lego. Oh,
Hello.
oh, that's the guy
Welcome.
who did Kitaro. Okay, cool.
Ah, okay. Kitaro, yes. Kitaro is the one that I know then. That's where I know that style from.
Well, there you go.
So Lillian has something for us. We've been reading a couple of books together here. Let's take it out of the
Oh,
bag.
lovely. What have you been reading?
Here you go. You want me to hold it for you while you talk about it? So it's a mini series
Mhm.
of My Little Pony. This is Camp Big Hoof.
Cool.
I'll just tell them the creators first before we get too far into it. So there you go. So Stephanie Cook, Kate Sharon, Reggie Graham is the colorist. And for me, just before Lily dives into it, Reggie Graham is doing an amazing job with this book. The coloring in this book is outstanding. Really, really impressive stuff. You know, not that I dislike My Little Pony books, but they're not my go-to reads. So it's nice to have some kind of visual elements for me to really get into, and the colors are kind of what I would expect from a book like this. Okay, Lillian, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I'm a little distracted by the
A little
cat.
distracted. The cat came out to visit us.
Yeah. Why? Okay, so we're on the second.
This is the first issue, yeah, just a
okay.
couple of pages in.
We're in the second series, but this is the first. I mean, we're on the second book, comic.
Right.
But
2 issues have come out so far, yeah.
Yeah.
First. So they're at like this camping, like they're going out camping with like 5 leaders, I would say, and like how many kids?
The whole pony universe has kind of changed, though, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We haven't read everything, but there's a whole bunch of characters here that we don't know about from previous issues. So we're kind of getting to know these new characters a little bit. And it's like a camp. It's like a summer camp is basically what this is. Yeah. Go on, love.
Okay. So
very excited there's a cat here. So
okay. So yeah, it's a whole new pony universe. It's like new characters, new everything. So the first comic, people they take most of the kids and they're going to make the like where Camp Big Hoof a little bit more colorful and that kind of stuff.
And also they're getting to practice their magic. So in this new pony universe, something has happened to the magic. So not all the ponies are magic anymore. So they're starting to train these younger ponies in using their magic.
Oh, no, gentle.
But they've also started talking about they've also started doing some ghost stories, and there's a legend of a big hoof kind of creature at this camp that they were telling around the fire, and that's kind of scared them. And yeah, this big hoof has started making an appearance very slowly. Sorry, Lo, go ahead.
Oh no, gentle.
Let me just take over.
Sorry, now. So.
Hey, Madison, easy there.
Yeah. Gentle.
Hey.
Gentle.
Come here. Sorry. There you go.
Excited cat now.
She's getting very excited. Yeah, she's very, very excited.
Yeah. So like that said, there's like they're talking about a monster. Now in the second comic, we see some of like pictures and like some of the artwork of the monster. So the monster, we hear noises, like, so everything falls down. And
yeah, the magic goes wrong and causes a big disaster, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so then they hear this like loud roar, and the kids are worried about it. So they take 2 people to go and look around. They go, and What's her
They're exploring.
name?
I honestly, I don't remember the names of
We
these
don't
new ponies.
remember the names.
We're
but,
still really getting used to these new characters.
Like the two of the ponies go, and one of them like makes a. Is it called a diagram? Or?
Yeah, they do this map here, and they put a grid on the map and how they're going to search this area. So basically, they're trapped in the camp, and the camp is kind of this area down here, and they're going to search it. They have this search party going where they're going to look for this this big hoof kind of character here.
Yeah.
So we get some nice pages of them kind of doing their searches throughout the area.
Yeah. So they look and they look and go all through the map, and they can't find anything. So they start going back because they're getting very hungry.
Right.
And they go in.
And
they
dun
see.
dun dun.
Now,
Big hoof devouring all their food.
Yeah. They look like they've seen a ghost, and the other people come in. And so they're like, what's going on? And they're like, well, look. And they turn. And
Nothing.
It's
disappeared.
Oh, mystery.
Yes. And there's the cover of next month's issue. So I think this is like a 6-issue miniseries or something. So it's on Lillian's pull list. I think it's fun. It's like I said, the colors I think are just extraordinary. I really like
very nice.
The graphic elements on this. It's an easy read. It's a fun little read, kind of just a before bedtime kind of read. She's got a couple of pony books on her. She's got a couple of pony books on her pull list. So it's nice to kind of sit and lay in bed and read these ones. But this one is actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
Is it still by IDW? Yeah, it's just IDW.
It is, still IDW. Yeah, and they do so many. They just did a 40th anniversary one-shot issue. They have a main My Little Pony series. They've got these spin-offs like they do with Turtles. They really just kind of let's throw a bunch of stuff out there and see if we can get people buying it all, right?
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So do
they laying on the computer?
Yeah,
because I presume My Little Pony is still active on the TV realm. Yeah, TV series are still.
Are they still doing shows or movies?
So actually, the interesting thing is this one that we're reading right now. The whole thing, how it started, is they're on Netflix. A show of these characters are on Netflix. And that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you can find out a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we don't have Netflix anymore.
Yeah, right.
But,
who does that?
I can download it. Don't tell anybody.
Come on. We are...
I don't know what you're talking about. You can't read my lips. Nothing's happening
here. So I'm glad you're still entertaining comic book. I really like the colors. I think it's just, if it doesn't have those bright colors, that's not My Little Pony, at the end of the day. So it's nice.
Yeah.
So it's good to see it, you guys reading those as well. So
yeah,
it's entertaining. Very good.
I mean, she has a few books on her pull list. I'm trying to think. Oh, Nightmare Before Christmas is another one that you have on your pull list. Although for some reason we've missed a couple of issues. What else do you have on your pull list? I feel like there was another book too, but I don't quite remember. Anyway, there's a couple of things that she ends up going that Galaxy does a really good job of. They have this one rack that's all kids stuff. So, and they have that at a perfect spot and a perfect height. So it's always good to kind of give her a little bit of a choice. Yeah. And just grab one or two. Yeah, exactly. That's most of our trip. Dad, check this out. Dad, check this out.
It's like,
yeah, right.
And Dad is sweating, saying, "Oh, my wallet!
Yeah.
What about me?"
These aren't so bad though. These are $3.99 books, so they're not too bad, which is good considering what it could possibly be if they really want to milk that kid dollar.
Oh, don't say out loud because you can.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, very nice. Though it's really cool to see you guys reading comic stuff. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else? Because I don't.
I do that I can quickly just go through. I've got a few things to quickly go through. I'm still on the new Doctor Strange.
Go on, go
Issue
on.
6 was really good, where we got introduced to General Strange, this kind of alternate dimension version of him that's been battling wars for hundreds and hundreds of years. He's now crossed over into the main universe. This wasn't a bad issue. 6 so far was the highlight issue out of this run, but I'm sticking with it. It's not horrible. It's not the best Doctor Strange stuff I've ever read, but it isn't too bad actually. It's kind of fun. So that's been pretty good.
But then, can you tell me why
you can?
Why do you continuously getting it? So something draws you into it. Then something makes you intriguing enough for you to continue.
I think I'm just jonesing. I think I'm just kind of jonesing for some new Doctor Strange stories, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I mean, the first couple of issues caught my interest. There's a nice John Romita homage in the front here to a remembrance, which is really nice. And I don't mind the art in this series either. I'm kind of digging it. There's your creatives there. Pascal Ferry is the artist. Jed McKay is the writer. Oh, look at that. Heather Moore is the colorist. So Trad Moore's wife. That I just realized that this very moment. And then, of course, Alex Ross covers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's probably got he has a beard just in case. Just in case you get confused, he's got a beard. So there was some of the usual kind of goofy moments early on where it's kind of like these jokes that I thought fell flat, but it feels like it's getting a little serious. That our good doctor has taken a turn and kind of reminded people in the room, like, hey, listen, motherfuckers, you guys only exist. Sorry, Lily. You guys only exist because I allowed you to live. I could destroy you at the drop of a hat. Like, don't ever forget that I am actually incredibly powerful. And you should be lucky that I haven't just killed you, So he kind of gives one of them, I'm done with you and your nonsense. So that's the kind of turning point. So that's kind of intriguing. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I imagine it's only going to be a couple more issues and it's going to end, and then they'll do another #1.
Careful, so you're going to get the right hook there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One that was a good surprise. I always get this stuff anyway. There's a new Firefly miniseries called The Fall Guys. A great cover there with Zoe on the front. I always end up getting this stuff, and they're usually just okay. This one is a fantastic first issue. I'm really excited about this one. This really feels like kind of classic stories from the show, They accept this job. It doesn't turn out to be what they were led to believe it is. It's a lot of the same characters. I've heard of the guy since the late 80s, even before he worked for the U.S. market. Oh, okay. Surprised how easily he evolves and adapts. That's good that he's able to kind of change his style and kind of mutate a little bit. So the captain isn't the captain anymore.
Oh no.
What's her name? She's still part of it. Kaylee is the captain. Zoe Washburn is the soldier still. Wash is dead. Shepard is dead. Jane is dead, so, and some of those stories have happened in some of the other miniseries. So it's really changed, but it still holds that really good kind of charm. Jared Osborne, I'll repeat what he said. People who buy stuff based on TV shows just are nostalgic for the show. And he's 100% correct. Because this is kind of, I love this idea of continuing a show in comic book form. It's a really fun story. I won't spoil the twist because there is a bit of a twist here in the end.
Oh, is it?
But I'm excited about this one. This is going to be one of the better miniseries, I think. Shepherd's Tale is another strong book if you're into Firefly.
Who is publishing Firefly? Is it Boom?
This is Boom Studio. Boom Studios is doing this. And then this is Sam Humphries doing the writing, Jordi Perez illustration, and then color by Francesco Segala.
Okay.
So
Humphries,
I think it's going to be a 6-issue one. I'm not sure if it's 4 or 6 issues. Probably 6.
I think Humphries I've heard because I think he was working some of the Marvel stuff or DC stuff. I think he's quite on. But yeah, I've never went into since that. I mean, I hold that Firefly maybe a little bit up too high. Do you know what I mean? For what I like, and I don't want it to be tainted. Not tainted. I don't know. I just feel like it's when they start doing that without original thing. Somehow I feel like I don't want it to get you, but you always say good things about it. So I don't
And
know. I'm
honestly,
always
the early
tempted.
stuff is still written by Joss Whedon, and they have collections. They have collections of the books too, because I feel like because I haven't read everything, I do feel like there's some lore that's happened in the comics that I've missed some chunks of. But honestly, there's a lot of the stuff that I haven't picked it up because I just don't like the art. The art just really isn't very good. This has the bonus of I actually don't mind this art in this one too, right? So that really is a selling point for me. Like if you're just gonna have this generic sort of digital art, as good as the story is, I just don't want to pick it up. But it might be one to look at the library to see if they have some of the collection Serenity, because there was Serenity stuff, there was Firefly stuff, and it all, I would like to read it all just to kind of see how we got to this point, you know, because there's a lot of stuff going on they're really kind of continuing with this history. Like they're not doing an offshoot and then forgetting it like we were talking about earlier. They're incorporating it into the rest of the books, which is really great. So
cool. Because Boom Studios does the same thing with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And then they have the cult following where they printing out in collected format, but so gets out of print so quickly because there's a, as I say, cult following of people.
And Joss was writing a bunch of that stuff early on too. He was writing a bunch of the Buffy stuff when it went to comic form.
Yeah. Especially like, you know, like the new Star Trek series I was reading, I think I was reading, but the art starts changing, and you know, some of the iconic characters you still recognize, but the art shift is quite major sometimes, and you lose the storyline kind of thing. So it's intriguing. The same thing with those, especially when they're basing on the TV series where you completely kind of know the actors' faces like a lot more than everything else, and then they change that. So the name sometimes doesn't go because it's been a while. For example, if I haven't read it for a while, and if I go pick it up that, and you will tell me name of that, and I don't see the face, I will say, like, who that? You know, who was that?
Yeah. Well, and that's also, this one jumped out at me because of this beautiful cover of Zoe. Like that's the actress, you know what I mean? So it jumped off the shelf at me. Whereas if it was another cover, I probably wouldn't have paid. I probably would have glanced over it because there's so much jammed onto the shelves these days, you know, like, or the racks rather.
Yeah, apparently they're doing something. We're talking about Buffy Vampire Slayer now. Apparently they're meeting up. All the cast is meeting up because there's an anniversary. Just makes us feel old, okay?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But anyway, so apparently they're meeting up all back together, the cast of the Buffy one.
Crazy.
I don't know what they're doing, maybe a special, I guess, but I doubt. I don't know, because you know, Sarah Michelle Gellar came back and now into more limelight. I mean, she's doing more interviews and stuff like that. Because I'm a Buffy fan. If you didn't realize that as well, but I love Buffy. I grew up with that. It's like, vampire killer, come on, let's go do it. I mean, afterwards when they introduced the brunette, I was like, yes, finally, not the blonde one. And I was always rooting for the brunette one, because even though she was kind of like she wasn't a great, you know, like she always kind of like was doing something her own way, you know, never by the rules kind of thing. But,
nothing wrong with that.
No, it's nothing wrong, of course, but you know, it's just I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I read a bunch of Matt Howarth stuff. I won't talk about all of this. But it's been fun. More Matt Howarth is always good. I love his stuff. This one was kind of a highlight out of all of it. This is kind of a book that exists in kind of another universe. He's got the Bugtown Post Brothers universe. This one takes place in something called the Mad Empress universe, and this is the Mad Empress on the front here. This was a 2-issue miniseries, but then there was other books as well within that, so that was fun to read. I finally caught up on, well, I still don't have issue number 1, but I read all of the TMNT Usagi Yojimbo series.
Oh, did you? Finally? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I finally, well, because I've just got sick of waiting, because I don't think I'm ever going to find that first issue. And if I do, I'm sure it's going to be expensive, but I haven't found it yet. And I don't really want to pay more than the cover price for it. So I figured I'd just tuck in and read it. The highlight for me was a character that appears late in the game that is really like Zatoichi, the blind swordsman, this blind samurai and his daughter. I loved that part so much.
Yeah, I told you.
I want to spin off of those characters.
There was. a story,
Oh, there was.
not a
Okay.
spin, not spin. I think it's gonna give you the origin story in the Usagi Jimbo about that pig, without that's not, and it's not. She basically guides him through because he can't see,
Yep.
and then his nose was the thing, and how Usagi chopped it off basically, and how he got so pissed off with him, and it
Right,
became
because he
an
had
enemy.
that like pig snout thing on or whatever.
Yeah, and they made him this one, but he still continued having that power of like sniffing everybody
Okay.
out. They knew the locations of people. But then the story of him gaining the girl, like who is she? I don't know, because I'm not
Ah,
up to par with the lore of the Usagi. So the people who maybe have read more Usagi, I would love if you can just
I
mention
thought it
that.
was his daughter,
Where
but
was
maybe
it?
I misread it. I
It
thought it
is
was his daughter.
it is this daughter.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if she is, because it's kind of mentioned as an apprentice slash, and she's like my father. So I'm not sure
Right.
really, as I say, because I don't
Yep.
know her part. I know his part because I remember reading clearly how he lost that nose, but I don't know her part because I think it feels like fresh, like something he just made for this story. But because he
Right.
said we kind of come back to it, at the end. Do you remember reading
Yes.
this? They
Yep.
were saying that she's going to do something about it, something. So she's going to be somewhere. So maybe it's a new character he's going to take somewhere.
Which is awesome. Yeah, definitely a new character. It was absolutely a
Yeah.
setup, and that story, I was out of that whole thing, I was the
Yeah.
most excited and
Yeah.
interested about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's gonna be
But
cool.
don't you think Stan Sakai can draw turtles? I love
I think
his
his
version.
turtles are, yeah. I think
love it.
it was a good looking book. I'm gonna say something very controversial. I
Uh-huh.
didn't really like this series, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wasn't really blown away by it, but I do love his art. Like these wraparound covers that he was doing, I love it, and I love the way he does these fight scenes and things. But yeah, I mean, his character, his turtles, absolutely are his hand. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And really, really nice stuff. I wish I would have gotten more of the Eastman covers, but
Yeah.
still, yeah. But the series itself, I just thought was just okay. Like I said, the highlight was that blind swordsman. Like I'm all about Zatoichi, so I am so intrigued about that character. Give me books and volumes of that one, and I'll be there for sure.
So that book I was showing to you, that Shigeru Mizuki, so he's dead. So he is the one who's done the Japanese history, and there's 4 books of his published. But this Shigeru non-ba originally was printed in 1977.
Ah, okay.
So it's not brand new. It's
Yes.
So I guess it's probably printed in the English format, and that's why we're seeing it now in the bookshelves, I presume.
Yep.
Yeah. So I just wanted to tell you about that.
Yeah, no, cool. That's cool. Like they said in the chat, that Kataro was the one. Drunken Sailor said Kataro, and that book I know for sure.
Yeah.
The last one I'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I finally, for some reason, I missed issue number 5. It was gone. I don't know. It didn't make it into my pull list. I don't know what happened. I know that some of the comic shops play some dumbass games, which kind of pisses me off. What's the point of having books on pull lists if you're going to give them away to other people? But so the series itself is up to issue number 10. So I didn't read anymore because because issue 5 was the final issue of that first arc.
Yeah.
So I read these. I just lay down on the couch and I read these all back to back. I love this book after the 10th, especially after where it ends up in the 10th issue. It is so enjoyable. Wes Craig's art is gorgeous, as you well know.
Yes,
he does something super cool. He does something super cool with his art in this as well. So I was telling Rasa through Messenger that he's gonna do. There's gonna be trades. This issue, in between arcs, he's gonna do a single issue that will not be collected in the trades. So it's gonna be strictly for the people who are buying the floppies. So in this issue number 6, this is going to be the one that's not included in the first trade. We get the history of Kaya and how she got this mechanical arm here. So in this issue, he really changes up his art style and coloring. And it's a fantastic story, first of all, really, really good. But because he has this ability to kind of, just kind of take chances with how he tells stories and the color palette and everything. It was such a fun issue, but honestly, this entire series, it may have started off it's still very firmly in kind of like the YA sort of realm. I wouldn't hesitate to read this one with Lily. I might actually sit and read it with her, actually.
Yeah.
It's firmly in that world and that fantasy world, which isn't always a go-to for me, but it is so much fun. I'm very excited about this book. Let's see, there was a couple of other, some of these panels. Yeah, this page here was really good, kind of telling the history of her uncle going to the mountains and things to talk to the gods, to communicate with the gods and stuff. So highly recommended this series. Trade weight for sure, but just know that it is going to be between every arc, he's going to do one issue that you won't be able to get anywhere else. The other thing he does in this one is every single one of these, he's going to have a guest artist come in to tell a story, to tell their own story of Kaya. So he gives a little history of like the in-betweener. So let's get the credits. Beautiful stuff here too. Where's the actual name of this individual? I want to make sure that
not so easy, isn't it?
Creator Indie World, Al Gofa. I love his work. Dark Angels of the Darkness, Cry Punch, and Orc Jim are some of the comics that he's done. But here's a great couple of pages. Yeah, really nice. It's just a short story, like 6 pages or whatever. But very cool, and the way he draws Kaya there is pretty fantastic. So strong book, man. Really great. So I think 10 is the newest issue. I don't know if 11 is out yet, but I would recommend it. I wouldn't hesitate. And just know that you're getting something that's a fantasy kind of in the YA world. You're not getting any sort of adult content here, but honestly, who cares? It's a lot of fun. So yeah, highlight of the week for sure, this one.
Oh, okay, cool. So I don't know what to say. I don't know what's happened with me and Kaya, because I was the one who was putting it the word out for, like, because of his art in particularly.
Yep.
So I found the guy on eBay maybe buying. I think he has 8 issues, the first 8 issues. So maybe I'm thinking maybe I can get hold of those issues, and then I just need to get couple of more later ones from them. Like maybe my comic book has it. So I need to talk to him first before I actually even delve into going back to it. But because I haven't mentioned it, I presume he was thinking that I don't want it, because I usually tell him like week by week what I want, and he just keeps aside for me. That's what the deal of us. So I don't really have to get put it like precisely my pull list. You just let me know like whatever you pick, and he knows what I like. Turtles, he said I don't think you need to mention anymore, because for this long you'll be just getting those turtles all the time and never
he knows
change.
automatically.
Yeah, so that's always kept for me. Even like I forgot about this issue that it actually came out. So when I saw it in my delivery, I was like, oh thank God. And he's like, while I was talking to him over the phone, I was like, thank you very much for not forgetting turtles. I was like, how? I know you like them because you're gonna give me shit for it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I'm gonna have to speak if he has those after issues. If he does, then maybe I can commit to singles and continue going single route.
Yeah, and then just jump on and put it on your pull list. I think this next arc ends with issue number 11, I believe, and then it'll be the in-betweener again, like that one-off again.
So you say every 5 issues is gonna take a break, and he's gonna
I think that's what his plan was. I don't remember if he specified exactly 5-issue arcs or anything. But it feels like, just from reading it, that there's going to be one more issue of this arc, 1 or possibly 2 more, but I'm pretty sure only 1 more. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So is Kaya's brother still so needy as it was? I was reading a couple of issues.
He's a character. I mean, again, it's one of those things I hesitate to say anything. I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
But he's a character for sure. She's absolutely the strong one in the duo. There's no doubt about it. But when you read this issue number 6, you'll understand why she is the way that she is. It's such a good issue. I think it's crucial to understand the character. So, and I also think it's cool that he wants to do something like that to kind of reward this floppy issue. But honestly, anytime someone tells me that it's not going to be print. It's not going to be and I call bullshit.
Yeah,
I don't buy that for a second. I
yeah,
have a feeling it's going to end up somewhere
yeah.
because I do think it's essential to understand Kaya. It's essential to understand her character, you know, so it gives you a
Hmm.
lot of backstory.
Okay, cool, cool. Good
Yeah.
to know. So I'm gonna definitely have a conversation again. He's like, what next?
Yeah, right.
What do I have up my sleeve? Anyway, so that's it. Is there anything else you have, or?
I'm reading through this one. I found a cheap copy of a Dawn graphic novel.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
about halfway through. And
Oof.
it's a struggle. It's a real struggle.
Oh
I'm not
no.
liking it at all. It's kind of like yeah, I mean it's one of those things because I love his art. I love his art. It's really
Mm-hmm. Oh
gorgeous,
wait.
but
Go on.
it's a struggle to read. He's
Oh,
kind of like he wants to be a Neil Gaiman and he's just not
oh.
even fucking close. And it really just comes off as
Holy
real
photo.
shallow and hacky. Dawn is gorgeous. Uh, you know,
Mm.
it's the main
Oh,
reason why I'm
okay.
buying it. His art is beautiful, but honestly,
So silky
it is
smooth.
such a dull it's
Yeah.
such a dull book to read. I don't know if I've just kind of got unlucky and this is one of them that's just not one of the strong
Mm-hmm.
recommendations from people who are big into the character, but it was
Uh-huh.
dirt cheap. So this will be in the resale pile to the comic addicts. I'm sure someone in town here will buy it off of
Mm-hmm.
me. But I mean, I'm glad I gave it a chance, but yeah, it's not doing
Oh.
anything for me. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to really try my best to finish reading that, but
Uh-huh.
it's really difficult. I sit and read one issue. I read kind of half an issue and then put it down and then come back to it later and try to read the rest of the issue. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
really not good.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Well, there's not everything gonna tick your boxes. Like
It's
when
true.
you comes, it's a pity. I have been several times. I pick up the library book, which just helps. When don't spend a penny. But when you're
Yep.
struggling with this free stuff, you're like, oh, why? I'm not, because sometimes it just doesn't click for you, and that's it. No matter what
Yeah.
you're gonna do, it just doesn't gonna work. So,
Yeah.
but it happens, unfortunately. It still does.
It sure does.
So when you're gonna buy me
Only
the
Neil
Phantom
Gaiman can
Stranger
be Neil Gaiman.
omnibus, Sharon?
What's that? Sorry.
I said, when you're gonna buy me the omnibus of Stranger?
Never.
I am
mean,
so
I would.
stuck to it. I really like. I saw somebody like do the thing now. I think it's popular thing to do now is to do overviews of
Yep.
the books. So
Yep.
so I saw a video of somebody flipping through them. The first one saying the paper issues, but then I saw somebody else flipping through it, and I didn't see, on the video you pretty clearly see no problem with the paper, and the art looks gorgeous, like really good. And I was like,
Well,
oh
that's good.
shoot. So I was like really kind of tempted to do that, but the price tag is like, poof, still
Yeah.
kind of like,
And do you think it'll exist until Christmas where you can put it on a wish list?
Like you can speculate, but the omnibuses
Yeah.
is always the thing. You can say that oh my god, it's too popular because the only thing I'm saying, keep on repeating myself, but because it hasn't been reprinted beforehand,
Yeah.
and the
Right.
material of his first appearance has not been in print whatsoever. Apparently, it's the first time it's being collected. So I'm not sure. I don't know how much the DC comic books has invested in the book, because apparently just to publish this omnibus took them about 3 years
Right.
or 2 years because they kept putting in the previews and then they canceled it. It never came out. Then another year we'll put in previews and it didn't come out. And now suddenly it's there in actual print. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. If it is there by Christmas, definitely I would put in my Christmas list.
Uh-huh.
Things to get, but
that's the best time for it.
Yeah. I don't have those community like you do where you can sell your
Right.
shoot to buy something else. I have to go to a different that stupid eBay.
Although with those omnibus, I don't see that stuff in the groups that I'm at, like the local comic addicts groups and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody reselling that stuff. Like I don't think like if I sat and thought about it, I don't think I've ever seen anybody reselling an omnibus. I feel like the people that buy that stuff, they keep it and I've not seen any come up again, you know. Even at the mini shows that happen in town, I don't really remember seeing any of them.
Especially,
you know, so.
I'm not talking the mainstream, like Marvel now realize that they can reprint those, yes. So there's lots of like X-Men. Like I was like, oh my god, X-Men, it hasn't been reprinted ever again. But then they're now like third printing omnibus number 1, yes. So Marvel in that sense is not, but the obscure characters like Stranger, like Dead Man, they don't get as much of limelight anyway. Not many people knows them, not many people likes them. Like Phantom Stranger in particularly says like it was the time when, you know, the first appearances in the 50s. I'm like, come on, who was reading? Like I wasn't reading comic. You know, me were reading those comic books in the 50s. So if you're not familiar with the character, I don't think you're as invested. But the people who has or knows the character and likes the magical realm of DC comic books, I bet they definitely intrigued or wants to keep it or have it, you know, own it in your collections. But I looked at that, as I said, the flip was fantastic. The art was spot on, to be honest. It's just like Phantom Stranger from the comic books, or the ones I have at least. So
yeah.
Anyway, I'm just rambling.
Yeah.
It's stuck back on my head, and I can't kick it. Yeah. I'm like a child. I want that toy, please. I want the toy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you never know, though. You may find it, because that might be the thing, right? Because people aren't as into the character, that might work in your benefit. You know, it could work the other way for sure, that they're going to get these fiends. They're going to print up a small amount of them. They'll be sold out, you know, that sort of thing. But you may get lucky. Who knows? Keep your eye on that Billy Haynes guy on Twitter. Maybe he'll have a copy down the road that he just decides he doesn't want. Wasn't that his name that you bought the stuff from before?
You spot on. You just reminded me. I was like, what? Who is it? Oh, you know.
Yeah. It was the James Stocco book or something, wasn't it, that you bought from him? Yeah.
Yeah, the art book.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you, Andrew Lopez, Paulo Costa, Drunken Sailors, for scribbling, the Donald Rex as well, for scribbling a couple of pages and, you know, informing us when we are needing some information. That's great. Yep. And we'll see you, should be next week if nothing happens, isn't it?
Should be.
In the Cracks channel. So beware of the crack.
Beware.
Okay. Okay. On that note, bye-bye. Bye-bye.